Family cultivation. My mobile phone traveled through time. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 301 Real Treasure, Fake Treasure. Activating the Sword of Time can accelerate time, with the lowest being 1 time acceleration and the fastest being 9 times acceleration. As long as the speed of the sword is fast enough, it can quickly kill the enemy. Imagine 2 monks fighting each other. Both of them attack at the same time. One of them activates time acceleration, and the speed is accelerated to 9 times. The enemy may have just made a move, but his sword has already killed the enemy. Then he thought of the Sword of Time and Light, which also accelerates time, but it accelerates the enemy. It accelerates in an instant, cutting off 10 or 20 years of the enemy's life. This magical power is not very effective against young monks, but it has a huge impact on old monks. Suppose an old monk has a short lifespan. If he is hit by this sword, he will lose 30 years of life in an instant and may die of exhaustion. Both are time acceleration. One is to speed up the speed of oneself, and the speed of sword drawing is faster. The other is to increase the power of the sword, which can cut off the life of the enemy. In essence, the two are the same, but in terms of direction, they are derived in 2 different directions. Xuanji felt and pondered the changes of the two, the wonders of the magical power. The mind was calculating and deducing. The left hand urged the magic power of creation to derive a knife-shaped rune. The right hand urged the magic power of creation to derive a sword-shaped rune. The mind was running, doing 2 things at the same time, quickly calculating, deducing, and depicting. The originally blurred runes gradually became clear. The murals on the runes became more and more complex and vivid, and the pen flew up and down, with a trace of mystery and a trace of mystery. The runes were constructed faster, and the structure was more stable and harmonious. About a day later, the 2 runes condensed. Fusion. Xuanji's mind moved, urging the 2 runes to merge. Then, with a bang, the rune exploded on the spot. Failed. This was expected. But in an instant, Xuanji sensed that the space was slightly fluctuating at a certain location. This fluctuation was very small. It was so small that it was almost imperceptible to the world, but it was clearly visible to Xuanji, who was always watching the changes of every blade of grass, every stone and every grain of sand here. The next moment, he grabbed the ground, and a grain of sand flew out from about 5 meters deep in the mountain and landed on Xuanji's palm. Buzz buzz buzz. This grain of sand seemed to have a spirit and was about to turn into a ray of light and escape, but it was fixed by him and stayed in place and could not move at all. 1 grain of sand, 1 world. This sand turned out to be a cave. Xuanji was slightly surprised, and joy flashed in his eyes. In the world of cultivating immortals, there are some storage magic weapons. Storage bags have the lowest value and the lowest difficulty in refining. Only the cultivation of the purple mansion can be refined. The disadvantage is that the space is limited in volume and can only store some dead things, but not living things. There are also some insect bags, insect jars, etc., which can store some low-level items. The highest level space magic weapon is the cave magic weapon. When you reach the realm of refining emptiness, you can operate the power of space and use the Xuanming stone, the void stone and other treasures to open up the cave world. Use the divine thoughts to refine the sand, and then the sand will turn into beads and enter the dungeon. At this time, a divine thought came from the beads. Later generations of cultivators, I don't know who you are, and I don't know what era it is now. Just remember that my Taoist name is Dongsu Patriarch, a cultivator of the 5th level of refining emptiness, who dominated an era. But in the end, I was defeated by the strong enemy. The Xiangang sect was destroyed. I was also killed, and all the cultivators of the sect were slaughtered. The Xiangang sect was destroyed. In that battle, I had a premonition of the danger of that battle, and left 8 treasures in some secret places, wanting to give the Xiangang sect a chance to make a comeback. There are several techniques and treasures in the Dongshan Pearl, which can be given to you. With this treasure, I must rebuild my Xiangang sect, and kill the Yuhua sect to avenge my hatred. In order to conceal the Dangshan Pearl, I set up a fake treasure outside. The fake treasure is this 5th grade magic weapon Xuanji mountain. There is a 5th grade spiritual vein, a 5th grade fruit tree of time, a volume of the magic method of transformation, and a volume of the magic method of alchemy. The next moment, the divine thought disappeared. Xuanji was about to continue observing the Dangshan Pearl, but he suppressed it. Don't get excited, don't get excited. This place is not suitable. It is not the place to open the Dangshan Pearl. If the moment of opening the Dangshan Pearl, it triggers a shocking phenomenon, it will be troublesome. Suddenly thinking of the experience of the Danliang patriarch, this ancestor also had a great adventure, and he would not have come this far without a great adventure. Although this ancestor kept silent about what his adventure was, even some close disciples did not tell him. You can refer to the cultivation method of this ancestor, his ability to make elixirs, and his ability to use the purple gold mountain to suppress and kill enemies, etc., and compare the information of the Cave Heaven Pearl. It seems that you can guess most of it. This Cave Heaven Pearl is a real treasure. The fake treasure seems to have been obtained by the Danliang ancestor. Xuanji took a deep breath, as if he thought of something. Even if it is a fake treasure, there are many treasures and they are expensive, directly creating a god-transforming heavenly venerable. This mountain under my feet, can't it be the purple gold peak? Or this mountain is wrapped around the purple gold peak. Xuanji looked at the mountain under his feet and thought a little. They are both 5th grade spiritual treasures. One is forged with dozens of kilograms of divine materials, and the other is forged with millions of kilograms of divine materials. If the two collide at the moment of confrontation, the former will break at the first touch. Many times, cultivators will not forge heavy objects such as towers, peaks, and bells, as long as the materials consumed are too much. The mountain under my feet did not grow in size as desired, but was originally this size. How much material does it take to forge a 5th grade spiritual treasure? But such a mountain, when activated, is extremely powerful, comparable to a 6th grade magic weapon. If my guess is correct, the 5th grade spiritual vein and the 5th grade fruit tree of time are inside the purple gold peak. How can I enter the interior of the purple gold peak? Xuanji seemed to have thought of something, and directly activated the divine will, endless red dust, and the divine will enveloped the mountain. The divine will enveloped the surroundings of the mountain, and penetrated into the interior of the mountain. Time was passing by little by little. At the moment of 8 breaths, Xuanji had a slight headache, and his mental strength was exhausted. He was about to give up. Inside the mountain, a purple gold light flashed, enveloping Xuanji's body, and the next moment Xuanji disappeared. At the same time, the formation on the mountain began to operate, distorting the sight and perception. From the outside world's cultivator's point of view, Xuanji was still sitting there, meditating quietly. Chapter 302, Dangshan Pearl, Medicine King. With the golden light flashing, Xuanji disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already inside the mountain. Swish. When he opened his eyes, Xuanji felt a faint spiritual energy, which was a little thin. The surroundings were grey walls, as if made of rocks, simple and majestic. The cave was about 100 square meters and 10 meters high. In the center of the cave, there was a pool with a diameter of 3 meters. There was green liquid in the pool, exuding rich vitality, full of vitality. Just a sip was magical and refreshing. In the pool, there was a 5-meter high spiritual tree. In addition to the main trunk of the spiritual tree, 9 branches were forked. There were some fruits on the tree. Some fruits were delicate and seemed to be about to mature. Some fruits on the branches were green and tender, not yet mature, and some branches had white flowers blooming now, beautiful and bright. There were a total of 18 fruits on the tree. This is a top grade 5th grade spiritual root, and it's not far from the 6th grade. A trace of heat flashed in Xuanji's eyes. This is the 5th grade spiritual root, the time fruit tree. It blooms once every 300 years, bears fruit once every 300 years, and matures once every 300 years. It takes about 1,000 years for a time fruit to mature. Eating the time fruit can increase the lifespan of a Yuanying cultivator by 1,000 years. He was about to go forward to pick it, but he endured it. Surrounding the pool, there is a god-transforming killing formation. If you force yourself to go forward, you will be strangled directly after triggering the killing formation. At this moment, a melodious voice came. The younger generation of cultivators who can enter this place must understand the will of God and have hope of becoming a god. This deity gives you a time fruit, which can increase your lifespan by 1,000 years. I hope that the younger generation can prove the Dao and become a god. Swish. A jade box flew out and landed in Lu Xuanji's hand. When he opened the jade box, a faint fragrance came immediately. Just a sip was intoxicating. The next moment, the box closed. The golden light flashed, and it was teleported out again. Lu Xuanji returned to the top of the mountain again. It took less than 3 breaths to go in and out. Danliang Peak seems to have 3 levels of assessment, but in fact there are 4 levels. The 4th level actually rewards the fruit of time, which can increase life by 1,000 years. After putting away the jade box, Lu Xuanji sighed in his heart that Danliang Xianzhen was very generous. With flashing steps, he walked down the mountain. Some disciples saw this scene and thought that Elder Lu had given up. Such scenes have happened many times over the years. Many cultivators came with hope, but in the end they still retreated sadly. Back to the mountain, enter the cave, open the formation to block everything, and block the outside prying. Lu Xuanji then opened the jade box and looked at the fruit of time inside. Thanks to the jade box to block the breath, otherwise the fragrance would only leak out and attract the attention of countless cultivators and spirit beasts. The fruit of time can increase life by 1,000 years. It is useful for giant and cultivators to take it, and it is useful for Yuan Ying's engine to take it, but it is useless for Huashan Xianzhen to take it. This is also the reason why Danliang Xianzhen generously left the fruit of time to the monks of later generations. The monks practice for longevity and strength. Especially the former is more attractive to the monks. Those pure-blooded golden crow, pure-blooded black tortoise, pure-blooded azure dragon, pure-blooded phoenix, etc., belong to the immortal species, and their lifespan is quite long, which is several times or even 10 times that of humans. With a long lifespan, they can constantly hone their cultivation and improve their own strength and have a greater chance of entering a higher realm. On the contrary, humans are short-lived species with a lifespan of 124 key refining, 244 foundation building, 484 purple mansion, 1004 golden elixir, and 2004 nascent soul. The lifespan is too short, and many monks' lifespans are exhausted, and finally they sit and die. After reaching the nascent soul, the elixir or elixir that can prolong the lifespan of the nascent soul true lord is not only rare, but also extremely scarce, and the effect is also average. Most of the longevity elixirs can extend the lifespan of the nascent soul by 200 to 300 years, which is considered good. But the fruit of time can actually extend one's life for 1,000 years, which is almost shocking. He took out the fruit of time and was about to eat it, but finally gave up. I don't need it. My aptitude is too strong. I don't need the fruit of time to increase my lifespan at all. Lu Xuanji said, with a flash of determination in his eyes, and put the fruit of time away again. You can give it to Wan Yi, Zia, and the elders. They need it more than me. Sensing the position of Dunshan, the cave bead was flashing, and a trace of divine thought entered it, and began to check the items inside. After all, it was just a fake treasure, which created a powerful god. How many treasures would there be in a real treasure? With his figure flashing, Lu Xuanji entered the cave bead. The space inside was quite huge, about 10 kilometers in size. In the cave, this 6th grade spiritual vein was laid, resulting in a very rich spiritual energy in the cave, which is an unparalleled blessed place for cultivation. Just taking a few breaths, Lu Xuanji felt refreshed, and felt that the speed of cultivation was more than 3 levels faster. There are all kinds of spiritual medicines planted here, such as Chalcedony, Heavenly Ganoderma, Fortune Grass, Nirvana Flower, Vitality Grass, Longevity Grass, Purple Mansion Flower, etc. From 2nd grade spiritual medicine, 3rd grade spiritual medicine, 4th grade spiritual medicine, to 5th grade spiritual medicine, the number is dazzling and complete. However, after a long time, many spiritual medicines have withered directly and turned into medicine ash. The medicine mud is precipitated in the medicine field, forming a thick large area. Many spiritual medicines have a long lifespan, which is much longer than the lifespan of human monks and divine beasts, but they cannot grow forever. Some of them will automatically wither after growing for 5 or 6,000 years and will turn into medicine and scatter. Looking at the thick layer of medicine mud in the medicine field, Xuanji sighed in his heart. How many spiritual medicines have to wither to become so thick? How many generations have passed, or even hundreds of thousands of years? Such medicine mud has extremely huge fertility and is suitable for the growth of some top spiritual medicines. At this moment, there are less than 100 spiritual medicines growing in the medicine garden, but the youngest spiritual medicine is 30,000 years old, and some of the oldest ones are 100,000 years old. When the age reaches 100,000 years, it can be called the king of medicine. The king of medicine is also very beneficial for the transformation of the spirit. Some 5th grade spiritual medicines can be forged into nascent soul level elixirs. The king of medicine is suitable for forging the transformation of the spirit, which is the king of medicine. Suddenly, Xuanji saw a spiritual medicine. This spiritual medicine was only 3 feet tall, with 9 leaves with golden textures on them, and a flower in the middle, guarding it. The aura was majestic and arrogant. Near this spiritual medicine, within a radius of 30 miles, there was no spiritual medicine growing. This was a king of medicine. According to the age calculation, it is about 300,000 years old. Xuanji took a deep breath. Chapter 303 7th grade Fruit of Time. Medicine King is also very useful to the refining Void Master. When the cave mansion patriarch left this treasure, there could not be Medicine King inside. Because, if the Medicine King is used to refine a furnace of elixirs, the combat power of the refining Void Master will also increase to a certain extent before the battle. After leaving this treasure, the spiritual medicine inside continued to grow. Among them, one spiritual medicine continued to break its own shackles, and finally became the Medicine King, which was also a bargain for him. Xuanji stepped forward and carefully observed this Medicine King, determined its species, and gradually came to a conclusion. This Medicine King is essentially just a 3-leaf clover. According to common sense, it will wither and die at most when it grows to 8,000 years, turning into medicine ash and used to fertilize the fields. But he broke the shackles and became the 7th grade Medicine King. Xuanji analyzed, and the more he analyzed, the more surprised he was, and the more he admired. Have mercy. At this moment, the Medicine King immediately begged for mercy. Its leaves were shaking, its body was trembling, and it seemed very scared. This spiritual medicine has actually given birth to spiritual intelligence. Xuanji was surprised. The longer something lives, the harder it is to give birth to spiritual intelligence. Just like a planet, it can be immortal for tens of millions of years, but it is difficult to give birth to spiritual intelligence. Stones, plants, etc. have a longer lifespan than humans, but it is difficult to give birth to spiritual intelligence. The lifespan of spiritual medicines, spiritual trees, etc. is hundreds or even thousands of times longer than that of humans. Not to mention the mere Medicine King, even semi-immortal medicines, immortal medicines, etc. can also give birth to spirituality. The world has given spiritual medicines a long lifespan, but it has also deprived them of the opportunity to give birth to spiritual intelligence. But there are exceptions to everything. This Medicine King actually gave birth to spiritual intelligence. Swish. The next moment, the roots of the Medicine King were pulled out of the soil, and several roots turned into human legs and began to run away, escaping into the distance. Bang! But after running less than 10 miles, he was knocked to the ground by a palm that fell from the sky. A ferocious human appeared in front of the Medicine King. Mercy, mercy. The Medicine King knelt on the ground and begged for mercy, making a babyish voice, like a child who had not been weaned. Get up. Sir, don't eat me. I won't eat you. Xuanji sighed, feeling a little sorry. If the Medicine King had not awakened his spiritual wisdom, it would be a simple spiritual medicine, and there would be no psychological burden to eat it. But if he had spiritual wisdom, it would be disgusting to eat it. Thank you, sir. The Medicine King stood up and said tremblingly, with a terrifying human appearance in the memory inheritance. Can you transform? Xuanji asked. No. The Medicine King said. This is for you. Xuanji pointed his finger and passed on a transformation spell. Transformation is one of the basic spells of the demon race, and it is widely circulated. The Medicine King's body was shaking, and he comprehended the secret of transfiguration. Gradually, his body was twisting, and the body of the spirit medicine was changing. In an instant, it turned into a 3-year-old child, wearing a red belliband, with a bird swaying underneath. What a cute child. Looking at this child, Xuanji immediately became a father, and hugged the child. The child's body was shaking, and his arms were trembling, but he still let this human hold him. The child was warm, and it felt quite fleshy and comfortable to touch. Holding this child was considered to satisfy Xuanji's wish to be a father. He had 2 sons, but unfortunately when he came back, his 2 sons were already in their 20s and adults. There was no way to lift them up high, and there was no way to tease their little birds. Facing this child, Xuanji smiled, stepped forward to pat his head, and played with his little bird. He looked very happy. "Call me father." Xuanji smiled. "You are not my father," said the Medicine King. "Just call me daddy, and I won't eat you," Xuanji said with a smile. "Dad?" Yao Huan called him daddy without any backbone. "Good son, remember to listen," Xuanji said with a smile. "My father's name is Lu, you can be called Lulinger, Lu Yaoling, Lu Yao Huan, you choose a name." Yao Huan thought, "Son, let's call you Lu Yaoling." "Okay, then you can be called Lu Yaoling." Xuanji nodded and said, "Son, take me around here." "Yes, father." Lu Yaoling nodded and began to walk in the cave, introducing the spiritual medicines, medicine kings, etc. Some spiritual medicines here are rare, and Xuanji may not be familiar with the medicinal properties and effects of spiritual medicines. But Lu Yaoling is familiar with everything here, and has a clear understanding of various medicinal properties. "Linger, how long have you been born with spiritual intelligence?" Lu Yaoling said in confusion. "It doesn't seem to be long, just 2000 years. I remember an old man broke into here and got that mountain, but he didn't find the sand that evolved from the cave pearl. I also absorbed the earthly energy from that old man, and then I began to awaken my spiritual intelligence." Xuanji asked again, "How much longer do you have to live?" Lu Yaoling pondered, constantly counting on his fingers, and said thoughtfully, "The lifespan of the Medicine Emperor does not exceed 500,000 years. When I was born with spiritual intelligence, I was 285,600 years old. I can still live for about 210,000 years, provided that I'm not eaten by humans." 210,000 years. Xuanji took a breath of cold air. 210,000 is enough to outlast many human cultivators, and even some pure-blooded monsters can't stand it. Xuanji asked again, and Lu Yaoling responded. Between questions and answers, he gradually understood him, and became familiar with him. It has been less than 2000 years since the awakening of the Medicine King's spiritual wisdom. He has been wandering in the cave most of the time. In terms of IQ and EQ, he is a blank sheet of paper, at the stage of a 3-year-old child. He can start from scratch and reshape his 3 views. Hand in hand, the two came to a 2-meter high tree with ancient bark, winding and twisting, like dragon skin. The ancient tree is too old, and has a decaying smell. On the ancient tree, there are only 3 fruits hanging, bright red, with ancient patterns. "Father, this is a 7th grade spiritual tree, the year's fruit tree, but it is too old, and will die in 100 years at most." Lu Yaoling said, "In 200,000 years, I will wither like this old tree, unless I break through, to become a semi-immortal medicine. Son, be confident. It is not difficult to become an immortal in 200,000 years." Xuanji said. "It does not take 200,000 years, but only 20,000 years to become an immortal." Lu Yaoling continued, "The fruit of time that grows on the old tree is of the 7th grade, and can extend the lifespan of a void refining master by 10,000 years. Of course, this is the first time you take it. The second time can only increase your lifespan by 5,000 years, and the third time can only increase your lifespan by 3,000 years. The fourth time, it won't increase your lifespan at all. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. we cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 304, the highest level of yin-yang transformation. Humans are short-lived, and their lifespan is always short. The lifespan of key training is 120 years. The lifespan of foundation building is 240 years. The lifespan of purple mansion is 480 years. The lifespan of golden elixir is 1000 years. The lifespan of yuanying is 2000 years. The lifespan of Huishan is 5000 years. The lifespan of Liangsu is 10,000 years. And the lifespan of Hedao is 30,000 years. The 7th grade fruit of time can increase the lifespan by 10,000 years, which is a bit shocking. In the human world, those peerless monsters are a minority, and most cultivators are just ordinary people. If they are not qualified, they will use their lifespan to grind, thereby increasing the probability of breaking through. Are there any restrictions on the use of the 7th grade fruit of time? Lu Xuanji asked. Yes. Lu Yaoling sensed his father's thoughts and said, "Father, if you want to take the 7th grade fruit of time, it's best not to do this. Father is only a giant and cultivator, and his realm is too low. If he takes it, there will only be two results. One is that he will be directly blown up by the power of the medicine. The other is that father suppresses the impact of the medicine, but most of the medicine is wasted and cannot be perfectly digested. Father, if you want to take it, it's best to be in the Liangsu realm and almost the Huishan realm. But I don't think it's necessary for father. In my perception, father has a pure Yang Taoist body and forged a high-grade Jinden. The foundation is extremely solid, and he doesn't need his life to grind the realm at all." "What a pity," Lu Xuanji said, putting away the 3 boxes. His footsteps flashed, thinking about the palace. Opening the palace, there were 3 jade slips and a gourd on the table. Open the first book, which records about 172 recipes and some experience in alchemy. Open the second book, which records some refining techniques, some pictures of spiritual treasures, etc. Open the third book, which records the experience of cultivation, some experience and insights, etc., which can help you avoid some pitfalls on the road of cultivation. Finally, open the gourd. In the gourd, there is a pill. Smell it. It is full of pill patterns and sealed, without a trace of pill gas leaking out. Under the gourd, there is a gold paper with some words written on it. Younger cultivator, I don't know who you are. Entering this secret realm, I don't know what era it is, and how many treasures are still preserved here. Here there are 6th grade spiritual veins and medicinal garden spiritual medicines, which can provide you with cultivation resources. There are alchemy secrets, refining secrets, etc., which can increase your resources and provide you with means of self-defense. I originally planned to leave some exercises for you, but finally gave up. If you practice the exercises of Xiangang sect, it will be deduced by Yuhua sect. As for the exercises of other sects, they may not be suitable. The required skills can be purchased outside. As compensation, here is a volume of cultivation experience, which can help you avoid some pitfalls on the road of cultivation. I originally planned to leave some spiritual stones for you, but the sects are going to fight, and there is a shortage of spiritual stones. I originally planned to leave some magic weapons for you, but the sects are fighting, and magic weapons are also in short supply. If you see this letter, it proves that the Xiangang sect has been wiped out by the Yuhua sect. Here is a gourd with a 7th grade elixir, the deity pill. After taking this elixir, you can shape the corresponding physique according to your physique. Even if your qualifications are a little worse, you can also transform into a deity, and there is a possibility of becoming a deo. By the way, this gourd itself is a 6th grade magic weapon, which can mainly store elixirs. Putting them in the gourd, the elixir will not decay if it is not more than 1,000,000 years old. As for the disadvantage, it can only store 1 elixir. This gourd itself is a 6th grade magic weapon, which can escape into the air and collect people, and it still has a certain attack power. The younger generation will definitely destroy Yuhua sect and avenge our Xiangang sect. The sects destroyed by Yuhua sect are more than just our Xiangang sect. Let's forget it. If you have the strength, you can try to take revenge. If you don't have the strength, you can give up revenge. Seeing this, Xuanji said, Senior, Yuhua sect has been wiped out by the Emperor of Samsara. Your revenge has been avenged. Looking at the contents recorded on the gold paper, and then looking at the jade slips again, he sighed in his heart that this senior had thought of everything for the younger generation. In the Dongxianzu, there are all dharma, friends, wealth and land. With these, it is very easy to rise and become strong. He was even worried that the younger generation had poor qualifications, so he left AOT pill directly. Download it on your mobile phone and include it in the database. While cleaning up all this, Xuanji suddenly sensed something, and his figure flashed and left the Dongxianzu. When he packed up everything and walked out of the cave, he sensed a familiar breath. Less than 3 breaths later, a woman appeared, with lotus steps lightly moving, swaying gracefully, a trace of ice and snow between her eyebrows, plump and delicate facial features, fine eyelashes, wearing a snow-white dress, tall and straight body, flat and firm belly, round and perky buttocks, slender and strong legs, and skin emitting crystal jade light, exuding endless charm. At this time, she quickly stepped forward, approached him, rested her head on his shoulder, kissed the fragrance on his body, closed her eyes, and seemed to be savoring something. Husband, I miss you. I miss you too. Congratulations on entering the golden elixir. This is also with the help of your husband's luck. Husband, I have just entered the golden elixir, and my foundation is not yet stable. I need your help to polish my foundation. Let's have a weekend off. I have missed the taste of yin and yang transformation for a long time. Me too. Just like this, the two people's breaths were connected, their spirits were integrated together, and they began to practice yin and yang transformation together. The love was lingering, entangled with each other, the magic power was running, the origin of life was running, and before he knew it, Xuanji felt the state of the two people, entering the highest level of yin and yang transformation. Life and death are always together, breaking the cocoon, and becoming a butterfly is always together. This is the highest realm of yin and yang transformation, and it is also the highest realm of the Hehu and demon vein. At this realm, the Taoist couple formed a strong cause and effect entanglement, and they were inseparable. Even if one of them fell, they would meet again after thousands of years. Reincarnation is like a stranger. Time can erase everything, but it can't erase this kind of cause and effect. As the two entered the highest realm of yin and yang transformation, the speed of their cultivation increased, and it increased to twice as much. At ordinary times, Xuanji's speed of cultivation alone was 1, but now the two of them have 2 days off, and the speed has increased to twice. Moreover, not only now, even if the realm is high, it is still useful. This means that in the past, he needed 250 years to enter the nascent soul, but now it only takes more than 120 years. It took him 20,000 years to become an immortal, but now it only takes 10,000 years to become an immortal. The speed is more than twice as fast. It is not obvious in the short term, and will not help people achieve success overnight, but it is of great benefit in the long run. This kind of speed has almost no hidden dangers. Chapter 305, 7th grade elixir, Deity elixir. In this double cultivation, he was the leader, and took the initiative. But Xuanji also gained a lot of benefits. Whether it was her physique, her physical strength, or her magic power, they were all improving, and her life essence was sublimating. She was immersed in it, and didn't know how many years had passed. After a long time, Xuanji got up, wearing a dress. Her face was full of blushing, her body was full of charm, and there was a trace of comfort. She sang a song softly, like a cheerful lark. By the way, I'll give you a gift. Xuanji suddenly thought of something, took out a gourd, and took out a pill from the gourd. He directly crushed the outer pill coat, broke the pill pattern, and put it into Xuanji's mouth. Husband, what kind of pill is this? Xuanji asked curiously. Guess. Xuanji smiled. Xuanji smiled. This must be a top level pill, and her husband was reluctant to eat it, so he let her take it. Sure enough, when taking the elixir, the body became hot, then cold, then numb, and various sensations continued to surge, changing the body and transforming the constitution. Various pains, various numbness, and various sufferings continued to erode the flesh. Under the intense pain, the body could not help but sweat, and the white dress became damp. Is this poison? Xuanji looked at it with doubt, but saw her husband's calm eyes, as if everything was natural. My husband wants to harm me, why bother? This is the elixir for the transformation of the body. I have to suffer a little. But if I don't suffer, how can I succeed? No one can succeed easily. Gradually, Xuanji's mood calmed down, and there was a calmness in her eyes, and a trace of composure. Her husband helped her a lot, but she also had to work hard. Instead of becoming a vase that was good looking but useless. On the road of life, she didn't want to be a passerby on her husband's road, but to accompany him until the end of her life. Her soul was sublimating, running the Hanbing's engine, constantly refining the elixir. The medicinal power was refining bit by bit, and began to nourish the body and soul, and life was transforming little by little. It was like a fish crossing the dragon gate, and turning into a dragon. It was like a crow undergoing a metamorphosis, and turning into a phoenix. She is changing, and she still has the possibility of becoming stronger. Looking at Xuanji who had transformed, Xuanji breathed a sigh of relief and nodded secretly. On the road of cultivating immortals, it is not that I have many resources, top level skills, and guidance from famous teachers to become a strong person. This is impossible. It depends more on the state of mind and will. The state of mind is more reflected in the attitude of perseverance. Persistence for 1 or 2 months is nothing, but persistence for decades, hundreds of years, or even thousands of years without change, with a heart as solid as a rock, is called a strong state of mind. As for will, it is the endurance of danger, the ability to overcome difficulties, the ability to respond to crises, etc. Some people can only win but not lose. If they lose once, their Dao heart will collapse, or their invincibility will collapse. Such cultivators have powerful cultivation, but they are actually vulnerable. For the real strong, defeat is nothing, but they learn lessons, and make continuous progress in the constant defeats and failures. Xuanji, I can give you resources, but you have to hone your state of mind and will. It's okay in the early stage, but in the later stage, no one can guarantee that they will never lose in their life. Without a strong state of mind, how can you reach the top of the mountain? Xuanji said silently in his heart. A glass heart cannot become a strong person. A heart of rock, to put it bluntly, is to be defeated at any time and run away at any time. He has many secret techniques, killer moves, etc., but he can't guarantee that he will never lose, so he keeps practicing golden light of the earth and dragonfly divine form just to prepare for the moment of being defeated and use these two divine arts to run away. On the road of cultivating immortals, it is not shameful if you cannot fight. It is not shameful if you lose a fight. But it is a bit shameful if your escape technique is too slow, resulting in death. A truly strong person can fail 100 times, but he will not lose his life, even if he fails 100 times, because his running speed is too fast. Time passed by little, and 3 days passed. At this moment, Xuanji opened her eyes, and the aura of her whole body changed, as if endless ice was surging, as if it was going to turn into a world of ice and snow, drowning everything and destroying everything. Endless coldness was surging, and in just an instant, the temperature in the cave dropped by more than 10 degrees. In the cave, there was frost condensing. The next moment, Xuanji seemed to sense something, restrained her breath. The frost was disappearing, the temperature in the cave was rising, and soon it turned into an ordinary appearance again. But at this moment, she felt that her body had undergone drastic changes. Her body seemed to be more compatible with the power of frost, and the lethality of the power of frost was increasing, and it was increased to 3 levels. Even the speed of cultivation was slightly improved. She was still her, but she was no longer her. I'm the Ice Soul Dao body, the top physique in the ice system. Xuanji said happily. What kind of elixir is that? 7th grade elixir, Dao body pill, can evolve the corresponding Dao body according to the cultivator's practice. Xuanji said. Many people like to do good things without leaving a name, but he is not like that. If you do good things, you must leave a reputation, otherwise no one will remember it. 7th grade elixir. Husband, you are too generous. Xuanji felt a little distressed, feeling that this husband was too generous. The best elixir she had ever seen was only 5th grade, which she saw at an auction. It was said that it was refined by a Yuanying level alchemist. 7th grade elixir. This requires the refining of the great master of the void refining. I have a pure yang body, I don't need it. But you, Xuanji, you have to keep up with me. I don't want to send offerings to your grave thousands of years later. Xuanji said, how lonely it is on the road to immortality. Are you willing to accompany me? I do. Xuanji said firmly. At this point, she was moved again. When she was deeply moved, she began to take the initiative and attack. The battle started again, and it was not until 3 days later that the battle ended. After the joy, Xuanji began to take care of the mountain, counted and arranged the environment of the mountain. According to the rules, Xuanji would have a separate mountain after entering the golden elixir, but because the two were Taoist couples, they lived together and lived a disgusting life. In his spare time, Xuanji opened the jade slips and counted the harvest, but found some interesting things. Chapter 306. One family, 3 golden pills. The palace was simply furnished. On the bed, Xuanji flipped through the jade slips, his expression relaxed and at ease. But suddenly, his expression changed slightly. It was because he saw some content on the jade slips. The jade slips recorded the cultivation experience of the senior Dangsu. When introducing the golden elixir realm, some content was written down. The content is as follows. The 9 turns of the golden elixir is not the ultimate. There are 10 turns, 11 turns, and 12 turns above. 9 turns. The golden elixir needs to absorb the immortal gold, condense the immortal divinity, and transform into the immortal golden elixir. 10 turns. A trace of the soul needs to descend to the fairyland, touch the complete law, and transform into the flawless golden elixir. 11 turns. You need to sense the power of destiny, choose one possibility from the countless possibilities in the future, and condense the supreme destiny. 12 turns. Unspeakable, unknowable, unspeakable, involving taboos in the underworld. 9 turns, is the ultimate in the human world, even in the fairyland. The next 3 turns have nothing to do with the cultivators. They involve the struggle of destiny, and good fortune in the underworld. The cultivator's promotion from the 9th turn to the 12th turn will not have a significant improvement in cultivation, magic power, and Taoism, but the improvement is destiny and destiny. Closing the jade slip, Xuanji frowned slightly, his mind fluctuating. Puzzled, and still puzzled, but roughly guessing. He also sensed the difficulty and danger. 10 turns. How is it possible for the soul to descend to the fairyland? Xuanji looked up at the void. There were countless stars in the void, but he couldn't find the fairyland. What is the fairyland? The fairyland is in the endless void. It may belong to another universe or another subspace. Only when you reach the refining void can you sense the existence of the fairyland. Only when you reach the unity of the Tao can you send a trace of your soul to the fairyland. But the 10th turn of the golden elixir requires a trace of your soul to descend to the fairyland, which is like asking a baby to take a calculus test. 11 turns, sensing the power of fate. I don't know why. 12 turns, it is simply a taboo. Even if you condense the 12 turns, your cultivation will not increase significantly, your combat effectiveness will not change, your Taoism will not change, and your cultivation will not change. The benefits are not great, but there are a lot of troubles. No wonder many cultivators give up the last 3 turns, because it is unnecessary. The first 9 turns are regular courses in school. The last 3 turns are extracurricular tutoring. Some students study hard in school and do not go to extracurricular tutoring, and they still go to famous universities. Similarly, some students take extracurricular tutoring, but many of them still do poorly. Don't understand. Then don't understand. After all, I'm only at the 3rd level of the golden core. It will take at least 100 years to reach the 9th level of the golden core. Let's talk about other things when that time comes. Xuanji said, closing the jade book, his expression becoming calm. The golden core is running, constantly absorbing the spiritual energy flowing from the Dangshan pearl, refining it into the Danshan, and turning it into a trace of mana. The mana is constantly precipitating and gathering in the golden core. The golden core is constantly growing, and the aura is constantly increasing. The mana is increasing bit by bit, approaching the 300 Jayasi. At the golden core level, the improvement of cultivation is mainly qualitative and quantitative. Continuously accumulate mana. When the mana accumulates to a certain level and cannot be increased, then compress the mana and improve the quality of the mana. At the same time, continuously expand the volume of the golden core and increase the capacity of the golden core. After the golden core, it is necessary to continuously refine high-grade spiritual energy to speed up the cultivation speed. In this process, it is extremely time-consuming. Many cultivators are in places where spiritual veins converge, and they retreat for decades or even hundreds of years, constantly accumulating mana to reach their limits. But with the Dangshan Pearl, everything is much more convenient. Dangshan Pearl is equivalent to a cultivation cheat. Carrying Dangshan Pearl is equivalent to carrying a movable 6th grade human connection, constantly refining spiritual energy, and always in a state of cultivation. The speed is many times faster than other giant cultivators. At most 20 years, you can enter the 4th turn. Time passed by little, and 10 years passed in the blink of an eye. At this moment, Xuanji suddenly felt a trace of heart palpitations, subconsciously ended his retreat, and walked out of the cave. His figure flashed and disappeared. The golden light flashed on the ground, and turned into a golden light and disappeared. A moment later, it descended near the Lu family. In the wilderness about 10 miles away from the Lu family, the calamity clouds in the sky were condensing, dark and dense, with lightning flashing inside, and the thunder of destruction tore everything apart and destroyed everything. In the midst of the heavenly tribulation, a middle-aged man was fighting and destroying the tribulation. When the 9th heavenly tribulation dissipated, a colorful light fell, and the aura of the elder was changing, and his cultivation was rising step by step, entering the realm of the golden elixir. However, the elder's foundation was insufficient, and he could only condense the middle grade golden elixir, and the upper limit was only the 6th transformation of the golden elixir. It was unlikely that he could achieve the Yuanying realm. Among the 10 golden elixir cultivators, 5 were of low grade, 3 were of middle grade, and only 1 or 2 were of high grade. Congratulations, elder, for entering the golden elixir. Xuanji stepped forward and said, "Haha, I didn't expect that I could actually enter the golden elixir." The elder smiled, with a free and easy tone and a hint of joy. The golden elixir is difficult to achieve, and the great way is difficult to seek. In his estimation, being able to achieve the purple mansion is a blessing of the ancestors, and as for the golden elixir, he didn't even think about it. But who would have thought that the Lu family would produce a true dragon? With the support of this true dragon, he turned the impossible into the possible, and achieved the golden elixir. The lifespan of a golden elixir is 1,000 years. He still has a long time to see the ebb and flow of the world and the changes of all things. I never thought that our Lu family would have 3 golden elixir in one family. This is like a dream. The elder sighed when encountering such a prosperous era. Our Lu family should celebrate it. Of course. Xuanji nodded. Not long after, Yuanyi returned. The 3 golden elixir of the Lu family gathered together and began to hold a banquet to celebrate warmly. The whole family was indescribably happy. The invited monks all had complicated expressions, with envy, jealousy, and uneasiness. The Lu family has risen. In the territory of Chu, another golden elixir family has risen. What luck and good fortune this is. Many times, it is not just resources that can create strong people. After taking the Jiandan, there is only a 3-level probability, which means that 3 Jiandan breakthroughs, 2 failures, and only 1 success. But the Lu family is lucky. In just 100 years, 3 Jiandans were born one after another. The luck is somewhat amazing. The joy continued, and the banquet ended after 3 months of feasting guests. Chapter 307 Upgrading Spiritual Veins. After the banquet, the elder went to Danyang sect again, and became a guest elder. However, his treatment was lower, and he was only a bronze elder. The treatment and benefits were reduced accordingly. After everything calmed down, the elder said, Danayang sect has a 5th grade superior spiritual vein. Even if it is in a branch position, it is more than enough to supply 2 giant cultivators. But my Lu family's spiritual vein is only enough to supply 1 giant cultivator. If it supplies more than 5,000 cultivators of the Lu family, it is not enough. If you want to upgrade the spiritual vein, you need at least 50 million spiritual stones, and it will take another 50 years. The elder began to calculate again. It would be fine if you don't calculate it, but once you calculate it, you feel that the problem is a bit big. After entering the Jinden, you can make spiritual stones and cultivate spiritual medicines. The amount of income has increased by dozens or even hundreds of times compared to the past. But the expenses of Jinden cultivators are also huge. Not only will there be no surplus every year, but you will owe some spiritual stones. If the cost is not taken into account, a 4th grade medium level spiritual vein can be cultivated within 50 years, but it will take a long time, and the spiritual energy of the spiritual vein may not be enough by then. Joining the Danayang sect as a worship elder, you can use the spiritual vein there to practice, which can save some money, but the price is that you have to complete the tasks assigned by the sect regularly every year, and the sect's welfare and benefits are not taken for free. Ancestor, I will stay in the Lu family. Lu Xuanji said, it can be rotated every 50 years. Okay. The family's foundation cannot be lost. The elder nodded. By the way, elder, take this. Lu Xuanji said, taking out the fruit of time and handing it over. What kind of spiritual fruit is this? The elder asked curiously. It's unspeakable, eat it first. Lu Xuanji smiled mysteriously. The elder was still confused, but he didn't think much about it. He took the spiritual fruit directly, and the mild medicinal power began to digest immediately. He stood directly on the spot and began to refine the medicinal power. Time passed by little. After a long time, the elder opened his eyes and looked at his hands. His hands became longer and more delicate. The vitality in his body was increasing. The vitality was flourishing. The blood was more abundant, and he exuded the breath of youth, as if he was going to be rejuvenated. I have increased my lifespan by 1,000 years. I can live at least 1,500 years. Xuanji, your gift is a bit big. The elder was silent and wanted to say some words of gratitude, but the words disappeared when they came to his lips. No matter how many words he said, it would be difficult to resist 1,000 years of life. The elder is not qualified enough, and his understanding is not enough. The best way is to rely on his lifespan to grind. Lu Xuanji said, the middle grade golden elixir is still inferior and has limited prospects. It is best to condense the upper grade golden elixir. After the golden elixir, the middle grade is upgraded to the upper grade. Although it is not easy, there is still hope. Elder, don't give up. I will. The elder nodded. After talking for a while, the elder left. Lu Xuanji returned to the Lu family and once again looked at the Lu family's industry, smiling faintly. The annual profit generated by the Lu family's industry was not enough to support 3 giant cultivators, and it was not enough to support even 1 giant cultivator. The Lu family's help to them was getting weaker and weaker, but this was his route after all. How could a person forget where his roots were? Arriving at the cave, Lu Xuanji began to practice. In the dungeon, the cave bead was running, and a trace of spiritual energy leaked out, which was constantly being refined, and his cultivation was slowly improving. The spiritual energy of Changyuan Mountain was no longer enough to support his cultivation, but with the spiritual energy emitted by the cave bead, it meant that he could practice at any time without worrying about insufficient spiritual energy. At this moment, the role of the cave bead became more and more obvious. After entering the Jinden stage, every time a cultivator inhaled and exhaled spiritual energy and refined spiritual energy, a large amount of spiritual energy would be directly refined, and the spiritual energy of ordinary areas in the outside world would be sucked dry in just a moment. Ordinary spiritual veins are not enough for Jinden cultivators to practice, and large spiritual veins are needed to meet their needs. However, those large spiritual veins are mainly buried underground in large sects and cannot be moved at all. Once a cultivator leaves the mountain gate, the speed of practice will drop significantly. But with the cave beads, carrying the cave beads with you can always meet the spiritual energy needed for practice, and you don't have to worry about the lack of spiritual energy, because you are walking outside. The cave beads are extremely precious. If the news leaks out, not to mention that Yuaning's engine will take action, even Huashan Xian's and Liangsu Danning will take action to snatch them. Several times, Lu Xuanji thought about telling Yi Wanyi, the elder, and other cultivators in the family about the cave beads, and letting them practice, but after thinking about it, he decided to forget it. There are too many people and the risk of leakage is also increasing. He doesn't want a powerful person who is a god to come directly to his door and destroy his family one day. To lay the spiritual veins and upgrade them, at least a level 5 formation master is needed. It seems that only Xia can meet the standard. Lu Xuanji thought, feeling the level of the spiritual veins here, and felt that upgrading the spiritual veins was imperative. He didn't need it, but the Lu family did. When they walked out of the cave, Ningzu happened to be guarding them. Master. Ningzu stepped forward and said, "Let's go to Xiang Mountain and pay homage to Xiao's engine." Lu Xuanji said, urging the vertical golden light, which turned into a golden light, and the two disappeared. About a moment later, the two landed on Xiang Mountain. At this time, a guiding light flashed and enveloped the two, and the two disappeared. The next moment, the two disappeared. When they appeared again, they were already in the Chaos Hall. The ancient hall was full of spiritual energy, and was about to turn into mist. Spiritual medicines were placed around the hall, exuding a faint fragrance. In the center of the hall, there was a woman sitting on the bed, with an ethereal aura like an immortal, long hair combed into a phoenix temple, slender body, tall chest, graceful figure showing seductive charm, with a hint of charm in her aura, like a peerless witch. Above his head, it evolved into a magical land, where creatures were evolving and developing, but on the other side of the magical land, it was a vast fairyland, where immortals were swimming, and fairies were dancing. The fairyland and the magical land were mixed together, turning into yin and yang, mixed together. At this moment, Xiao's engine opened his eyes, flashed his footsteps, and came in front of Lu Xuanji. "You're finally here." "I'm here." "What treasure did you get?" Jinzi smiled and said, "Can you get a golden reward?" Lu Xuanji said, "Not only can you open the golden treasure chest, but you can also get other rewards." Jinzi nodded, and was about to ask something, but suddenly looked at Ningzu next to him, and suddenly realized something and said, "It's actually a pure yin holy body, a good physique, especially with your pure yang Taoist body, it's almost a natural match. If you two work together, your cultivation will be greatly improved, and you will have a bright future. But if you want to work together, it's best to enter the golden core stage." "Little girl, what's your name?" Ningzu blushed, but thinking of her idol in front of her, she said respectfully, "I'm Ningzu, the master's maid." Chapter 308 Time Acceleration Array. In the hall, Jinzi looked at Ningzu and activated the Plum Blossom Divination. With just a moment of thought, she knew everything about Ningzu's past. She secretly sighed in her heart that Lu Xuanji was lucky. The pure Yang Dao body and the pure Yin Saint body complement each other. If they were cultivated together, it would be of great benefit. This was a great fortune for Lu Xuanji and Ningzu. Just now, she used the Plum Blossom Divination to make calculations and even calculated a corner of Ningzu's future. If there was no interference from Lu Xuanji, Ningzu would have established her foundation in 10 years, and achieved the Dao of the Purple Mansion in 150 years. Moreover, because the pure Yin Saint body was activated, a large amount of pure Yin Qi impacted her Qi in blood, and her body would become cold, affecting the improvement of her cultivation, and then she would sit and die before the age of 350. Because of Lu Xuanji's interference, Ningzu's fate changed, and her future became unpredictable, with countless possibilities and countless changes. "Xiaoxu," Jinzi said. "Greetings, Master's Engine." Ningzu said respectfully. "Pure Yin Saint body is one of the top physiques, but it is not as good as pure Yang Dao body after all." Jinzi said, "Pure Yang Dao body, when it reaches the Purple Mansion realm, it can awaken pure Yang True Fire, and can use pure Yang True Fire to temper the body and temper the true Qi, and the cultivation can be greatly improved. But the pure Yin Saint body is much worse. When it reaches the purple mansion realm, it can derive pure yin qi, but pure yin qi is very good for some male cultivators, but it is not good for you at all. It's good for you to follow Xuanji. Not to mention other things, it's not difficult to become a golden core, and even Yuan Ying has some hope. Junior understands. Ningzu said. In society, no one will be good to someone for no reason, and they all have intentions. This intention is also an opportunity for the weak to rise. The master values her, and he values her Taiyin saint body, and wants to impact the realm at a certain critical moment. This is a good thing, because being valued has unlimited possibilities in the future. In the past, the upper limit was only the purple mansion, but now, the lowest is also golden core, or even Yuan Ying. This is for you. It can block the pure yin energy in your body. Jinzi said, taking a jade pendant and handing it over. Ningzu thanked him, took the jade pendant, and put it on her neck. As the jade pendant was running, the ki in her body was restrained, and the pure yin energy that leaked out was blocked in her body, unable to leak out at all. Xiaoxu, go to the side hall to rest for a while. Thank you, master. Jinzi waved his hand, and the golden light flashed. Ningzu disappeared and entered the side hall. There were only 2 people left in the main hall. I miss you. Jinzi said, stepped forward, leaned on Lu Xuanji's shoulder, feeling the warmth and freshness, and suddenly felt hot all over. Her body was slightly soft, and her body was intoxicated. It seemed that, when she saw this man, she couldn't help herself. I miss you too. Lu Xuanji said. Afterwards, the 2 of them came into close contact, talking to each other, as if they were going to become one, as if they were going to merge into each other's bodies. After an unknown amount of time, the 2 of them sat on the bed, talking about some intimate words, talking about the various things that had happened over the years. Did you get the fruit of time? Lu Xuanji said gently, holding the beauty in his arms. Yes, but I have been keeping it until I entered the nascent soul stage, and then I took it. Now I still have 2,000 years to live. Jinzi said, with joy in his words. In 1,000 years, I will be able to enter the god of transformation, or perish in the calamity. Don't talk nonsense. My cultivation is not as good as yours now, but I can catch up with you in at most 300 years. At that time, I will protect you, and I will bear the calamity on you. There was a hint of domineering in his words. It's okay to eat some soft rice occasionally, but he doesn't plan to eat soft rice all the time. You are already a golden elixir. According to your cultivation speed, it won't take too long to catch up with me. Jinzi said, with a hint of loss in his words. At the beginning, when they first met, she was the golden core patriarch, and Lu Xuanji was only a foundation establishment cultivator. But hundreds of years later, she was only at the nascent soul stage, but Lu Xuanji was at the golden core stage. The gap between the 2 was constantly narrowing. Not only that, Lu Xuanji also had a huge amount of luck, which had resolved her misfortunes many times and even won some opportunities for her. Feeling the improvement of her lover's cultivation, she was happy, but the sadness was intensifying. But the next moment, accompanied by an endless sense of freshness, the 2 entangled together. It was endless intoxication again, and they separated after a long time. No more. I want more. You are such a child. You can't grow up at all. With you spoiling me, why should I grow up? By the way, let Xiaoxu stay with me. I will help you train her. Jinzi suddenly said. Why is that? Lu Xuanji frowned slightly. Xuanji, how could I not understand what you are thinking? Jinzi said, with a sigh in his voice. Are you going to take Ningzu as your concubine, and constantly train her to the golden core realm, and then the 2 of you will work together on weekends, with the help of his rich pure yin energy, to impact the golden core 10th turn? Yes. Lu Xuanji nodded, with a firmness and a determination in his words. In life, you always have to give it a try, even if you know the chances of winning are slim and the probability of failure is high, but I still plan to give it a try. Sure enough, it was like this. Jinzi sighed in his heart, but his words were firm. I don't know how to enter the 10th stage of the golden core, but I know it is very difficult. With your current foundation, the probability of reaching the 10th stage is less than 1 in 1,000. Even if Ningzu enters the golden core realm, it will not be of much help to you. It is best for Ningzu to enter the nascent soul. At that time, you and EG will have a day off, which will increase the probability a little. Xuanji frowned and said, at most 200 years, I will be able to reach the 9th stage of the golden core. In just 200 years, it will be extremely difficult for Ningzu to reach the golden core, and it will be almost impossible for her to reach the nascent soul. 200 years, of course, is impossible, but 2000 years. Xuanji said, in the Chaos Hall, there is a time formation. When the formation is turned on, the time can be accelerated 10 times. Under the acceleration of time, Ningzu has enough time to break through to the golden core, or even the nascent soul. After 200 years, when you reach the 10th stage of the golden core, Ningzu will also enter the nascent soul realm, and can assist you better at that time. What are the shortcomings of the time acceleration formation? Xuanji asked. Not only does it have disadvantages, but there are many disadvantages. Xuanji said, in the time acceleration formation, the 200 years you spend are also real 200 years, and your lifespan will be reduced by 200 years. The time acceleration formation only shortens the time required in reality, and does not shorten the time for cultivators to practice. This is the first disadvantage. Chapter 309 Healing the Tree of Time. The second shortcoming is that long-term cultivation under the time acceleration formation will cause restlessness, unstable blood and ki, and inner demons. It will cause an unstable state of mind, which is not conducive to the future. The third shortcoming is that the time acceleration formation distorts the laws of heaven and earth, which is very disadvantageous for cultivators to comprehend the laws of heaven and earth and comprehend the great way. It is suitable for cultivators below the nascent soul stage, but not for cultivators above the nascent soul stage. The fourth shortcoming is that under the time acceleration formation, cultivators will be weaker than cultivators who cultivate in the normal world. These are all shortcomings, but they are also the most suitable for Ningzu. When she said this, Xuanji's expression was calm, as if she was looking at an ant. In her eyes, only Xuanji could make her look up to him. As for other people, she was indifferent to them in her bones. As for Ningzu, she was just a maid and a furnace. If she was obedient, it would be fine. If she was disobedient, she would not mind taking action personally to suppress and kill her. Xuanji was kind and soft-hearted. It was difficult for him to be ruthless to some people. If her hands were not ruthless enough, then let her do some evil things. Okay, Xiaoxu will stay here for now, Xuanji said. Don't worry. Xuanji nodded and said, but even with a nascent soul furnace, the success rate is not high. If this method is effective, the yin-yang demon vein would have been invincible long ago. You must be prepared for failure. Of course. Xuanji said, you are a level 5 formation master. Do you have the means to upgrade the 4th grade spirit vein to the 5th grade? 5th grade spirit veins are not simple. Even a 4th grade mid-stage spirit vein costs a huge price to forge. Xuanji thought about it, but decided to tell the truth. Where do you think the spiritual energy comes from? Xuanji thought for a while and said, there are several sources of spiritual energy. One is that plants absorb the essence of the sun and the moon and transform it into spiritual energy. The other is that the star core absorbs the free energy in the void and transforms it into spiritual energy. According to the records of our predecessors and some statistical data, there are 3 sources of spiritual energy. One is that spiritual trees, spiritual medicines, spiritual herbs, etc. absorb the essence of the sun and the moon and transform it into spiritual energy. One is that the star cores are running and transforming the energy of the void into spiritual energy. The last one is that when you reach the realm of refining emptiness, or even a higher realm, you can absorb the energy in the void, the power of the sun, moon, and stars, the energy of chaos, etc. to set up a top-level formation, transform spiritual energy, and give back to the world. Xuanji said, in the world of cultivating immortals, the so-called 1st to 3rd grade spiritual veins all rely on spiritual stones and some formation plates. The spirit-inducing formation is set up to guide the spiritual energy transformed from the star core, bind it, and transform it into a spiritual vein. In the early stage of the 4th grade, it's barely acceptable. But it's not possible. After reaching the middle stage of the 4th grade, extracting spiritual energy from the earth's crust will cause the spiritual energy to be thin within 1,000 miles. which is not conducive to the growth of spiritual herbs and spiritual medicines, and it will also owe a huge cause and effect. After the 4th grade, it is no longer a domineering extraction of underground spiritual energy, but a 4th grade spiritual tree is planted on the spiritual vein. The 4th grade spiritual tree absorbs the essence of the sun and the moon, and transforms the spiritual energy from the bowl, which is enough to transform into a 4th grade spiritual vein. After the 4th grade, the grade of the spiritual vein no longer depends on the formation, but on the grade of the spiritual tree. The upgrade of the spiritual vein also relies on the upgrade of the spiritual tree. As long as you have a 4th grade spiritual tree, I can build a 4th grade spiritual vein. As long as you have a 5th grade spiritual tree, I can build a 5th grade spiritual vein. If there is a 6th grade spiritual tree, I can directly build a 6th grade spiritual vein. The Dandayang sect can build a quasi 6th grade spiritual vein, because it has a quasi 6th grade time fruit tree. My Xiang mountain can build a 5th grade lower grade spiritual vein, because of a 5-element fruit tree. Lu Xuanji pondered, what if the spiritual tree withers or even runs out of life, and is about to die? When a spirit tree withers or dies due to exhaustion of lifespan, the spirit vein will also dry up. Xuanji said, the greatest function of a spirit tree is to transform trapped energy and cultivate spirit veins. As for the fruits it bears, they are not the most important. Lu Xuanji was silent. He suddenly thought of the cave heaven pearl, the 6th grade spirit vein inside, and the time fruit tree that was about to wither. Originally, the time fruit tree was about to wither after 100 years, and Lu Xuanji didn't take it too seriously. After all, he didn't need the time fruit to prolong his life. The 6th grade time fruit might be important to some cultivators, but it was not important to him at all. But when he thought of the scene of the 6th grade spirit vein collapsing and dissipating after the time fruit tree withered, he could no longer remain calm. Lu Xuanji asked again, how much does it cost to buy a 4th grade spiritual tree? Xuanji thought. First of all, low-grade spiritual stones are not very useful for giant and cultivators, and medium-grade spiritual stones are not very useful for yuanying cultivators. To exchange for a 4th grade spiritual tree, at least 500,000 medium-grade spiritual stones are needed. To exchange for a 5th grade spiritual tree, at least 500,000 high-grade spiritual stones are needed. 4th grade spiritual trees are not very useful to you. But for a 5th grade spiritual tree, first of all, let's not talk about whether you have spiritual stones to exchange. Even if you exchange it, you can keep it. Lu Xuanji smiled bitterly and turned silent. Many times, you can't spend money, even if you have it. Because spending too much money and having too many treasures will easily attract the attention of strong people. If a 5th grade spiritual tree is planted in the Lu family, there may be a yuanying strongman who comes to rob it and destroy the family in a month. Xuanji, don't think too much. You don't need a 4th grade spiritual tree, because you will reach the nascent soul stage in 200 years at most, but you can't keep a 5th grade spiritual tree. You can live with me, or in the Dandayang sect. Xuanji said, for you, cultivation is the most important thing. Lu Xuanji nodded. Put aside the extra thoughts and live in the Chaos Palace. The Chaos Palace was left by Taoist Fiu, and there are endless mysteries in it. Although Xuanji only solved part of the formation, the rich spiritual energy here is comparable to the 5th grade spiritual vein, and the speed of cultivation here is extremely fast. In a certain room, Lu Xuanji's mind moved, and a trace of his mind entered the interior of the cave heaven pearl. In the cave heaven pearl, the spiritual energy is extremely rich, and there is a 6th grade spiritual vein laid inside, which is quasi 7th grade, and it is only a little short of entering the 7th grade. However, at this moment, the spiritual vein is in a state of exhaustion, because the lifespan of the 6th grade year's fruit tree has been exhausted, and it is about to die. At this time, the year's fruit tree was withering, the old tree was dying, many branches were drying up, leaves were scattered on the ground, there was only a trace of life in it, but it could not last long. How can I cure the year's fruit tree? Lu Xuanji thought, and first injected a stream of Qibushan. As a result, the spirit tree just shook, and then turned into calm, without any effect. The grade of Qibushan was too low, and the effect was minimal. Suddenly thinking of something, Lu Xuanji urged the power of creation to enter the dead tree. Chapter 310, Creation and Death. The fourth transformation of the golden elixir. In the cave bead, the 3-meter high old tree gradually withered, and most of the leaves outside fell off. The remaining leaves were also withered and yellow. The bark of the old tree withered, like dry firewood. There was still a trace of vitality in the trunk of the old tree, but the vitality was gradually dissipating, and it seemed that it could not last long. As if thinking of something, Xuanji took a deep breath, urged the magic power of creation, and turned into grey energy to enter the dead tree. The dead tree just trembled slightly, and there was no movement. Then, he urged the magic power of creation to enter the dead tree again. How magnificent and huge the magic power of 300 Xuanji is, but at this moment it is continuously injected into the dead tree. The dead tree is like a sponge, constantly absorbing the magic power of creation. Until an hour later, Xuanji panted slightly and sat on the ground. At this moment, the magic power in the golden elixir was completely exhausted, and there was not a drop left. Sitting on the spiritual vein, he continued to practice and breathe in the spiritual energy. After about 3 hours, the magic power was restored. After recovering his mana, he continued to infuse it into the dead tree until his mana was exhausted. In this way, he fell into a continuous cycle. He continued to infuse mana into the dead tree, and when his mana was exhausted, he absorbed spiritual energy to recover his mana. This cycle continued until 3 months later, when Xuanji felt that the dead tree had a little more vitality. The vitality was increasing, although it was very small and could not be seen without careful observation, but it was indeed increasing. About a year later, the dead tree actually sprouted new buds. In the dead body of the old tree, a vitality force was slowly brewing, showing vigorous vitality, as if to start a new life and a new chapter of life. It works. It really works. Xuanji was happy. Although his mana was greatly depleted, the old tree began to recover under the effect of the mana of creation. Moreover, in the process of constantly exhausting his mana and recovering, the speed of his cultivation was also accelerating, more than 3 levels faster than before. Time passed by little, and in the blink of an eye, 20 years passed. Crack, crack. With a violent sound, the golden elixir in the dungeon was expanding, and cracks appeared on the golden elixir. The cracks were increasing. When they increased to a certain extent, the golden elixir seemed to be unable to withstand the huge force, and shattered on the spot. But at the moment of shattering, it was constantly compressed under an inexplicable force. The golden elixir that was about to explode was recondensed, and kept getting smaller. It was constantly compressed from the size of a watermelon to the size of a sesame seed, like a black dot. Woo woo woo. At this moment, the spiritual energy in the sky was like a funnel, pouring down continuously, like a roaring storm, like a mountain torrent erupting, like a tsunami surging, and causing waves of terrifying visions in the cave. Father, it's amazing. In the distance, a 3-year-old child looked at this scene, and his eyes flashed with the longing of the previous life. At this moment, the child was wearing black clothes, with pigtails on his head, and holding a milk bottle in his hand. The child has already reached the foundation building stage. This child is none other than Lu Yaoling. Lu Yaoling has been living in the Dongshan Pearl, taking good care of the spiritual medicines here. In just 30 years, he has entered the stage of foundation building. If he had not been concentrating on polishing his foundation, he might have been faster. In the sky, spiritual energy was pouring back. After 10 breaths, the strange phenomenon disappeared. Xuanji opened his eyes. His breath was rising, causing the spiritual energy around him to distort. After a moment, his breath converged and returned to normal. But his cultivation level has improved a lot, entering the 4th stage of the golden core, and his mana has increased to 500 Xuanji of mana. The mana is a bit scary, you know. The Yuanying only has 1000 Xuanji of mana. He is only the 4th stage of the golden core, but it is equivalent to half a Yuanying. His figure flashed, and he was under the dead tree again. At this moment, it is no longer appropriate to call it a dead tree. From the outside, the dead tree is still a dead tree, but inside it is full of vitality, like a dormant cocoon, waiting for the moment to break out of the cocoon and become a butterfly. This tree of time fruit is not sick or damaged, but it has reached the end of its lifespan. Spiritual trees also have a lifespan, and at a certain point in their lifespan, they will also die of old age. However, the lifespan of many spiritual trees is 10 times or even 100 times that of human cultivators, so people have an illusion that spiritual trees are immortal. In fact, it is impossible. As a 6th grade spiritual tree, its lifespan is about to reach 500,000 years. At most, it will die after its lifespan is exhausted in less than 80 years. The magic power of creation injected by Xuanji is continuously injected into its body, which will not make the old tree come back to life, but will continue to accumulate and turn into the power of origin and settle inside the body. After 80 years, the old tree will undergo an amazing transformation. At that time, if the old tree successfully transforms, it will advance to the 7th grade. If it fails to advance, the old tree will die directly. There are still 80 years. Xuanji's figure flashed and left the cave bead. In the flash of his footsteps, he left the chaos hall. On the mountain peak, walking around casually, I suddenly saw a familiar figure, wearing a white dress, with a heroic aura. Extraordinary. It was Longzuan. After not seeing each other for a long time, Longzuan has entered the peak of Jiandan, and is only one step away from Yuanying. Hello, fellow Daoist. Longzuan came forward to greet, observing him with her beautiful eyes, and said, fellow Daoist, you have become stronger. Fellow Daoist is not bad either. Xuanji said. Fellow Daoist, why don't we have a fight? Longzuan said excitedly. Okay, then let's have a fight. Xuanji said. Then let's go to the martial arts hall and fight. Everything is up to you. With a flash of their figures, the two disappeared. A moment later, they appeared in the martial arts hall, which was made of solid diamond and reinforced by a 5-level formation. It can withstand a battle at the Yuanying level without too much damage. In the martial arts hall, there are often Jiandan masters fighting each other and fighting bloody battles. When it came to the martial arts hall, there were cultivators fighting each other. Seeing the two people coming, she immediately ended the fight and left the martial arts hall. I'm going to take action, Your Excellency, be careful. Longzuan said, drawing her sword. The sword light was like flowing water, slashing and killing in an instant. However, at this moment, Xuanji also drew his sword. When the sword was slashed, the world suddenly became dark, as if all the light of the world was taken away by the sword. It seemed to be a moment, and it seemed to be eternal. It seemed to be extremely fast, so fast that it was impossible to dodge, but it seemed to be extremely slow. At the moment, when the sword was slashed, Longzuan thought of a lot of things, thinking about how she became a slave in her childhood, was sold in a cage, and was saved by the eldest lady, and the demise of the Jin family. They fled all the way, fled to the land of the East Wasteland, and lived a miserable life. Swish. The next moment, the sword light disappeared, and the originally dark world became bright again. A knife stayed above her head, less than an inch away. As long as she continued to chop it down, she would be cut in two with one sword, and she would die on the spot. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 311, The Sword of Time, Ningzu's Enlightenment to the Purple Palace. What is this knife called? Longzuan asked. The Knife of Time. Xuanji said calmly. He activated the Knife of Time and only accelerated it twice, but he defeated Longzuan with one move. You are very strong. Longzuan said, without hysteria, without anger or unwillingness, but with calmness and loneliness. It seemed that she lost her energy in an instant. She turned and disappeared. At this moment, Jinzi appeared and happened to see Longzuan's lost look. She lost? Jinzi asked. Yes. Xuanji nodded. How many moves did you take to defeat her? Jinzi asked. Is it 10 moves? Or 3 moves? Just one move. Xuanji said. One move. Jinzi was slightly surprised, as if he was getting to know someone again. What move is it? It's this one move. Xuanji drew his sword again, and the long sword chopped down, reaching the extreme speed. But Jinzi pointed his finger at the long sword, and the long sword broke, and turned into scattered energy. But Jinzi's finger was also cut, dripping. A drop of blood fell. What a fast knife. Xuanji said, Long Xuan couldn't resist this knife. It's not her fault, but you are too fast. What's wrong with her? I won't chop her down with one knife. Xuanji said, with a hint of regret. But if he didn't use the knife of time and the killing move, he might not be able to defeat Long Xuan within 100 moves. It seemed that he had just made one knife, but it was condensed into one knife. Don't worry, I will comfort her later. Xuanji said, with a calm expression. Heavenly tribulation, human tribulation, life tribulation. I don't know if this is a human tribulation or life tribulation. After a while, the two returned to the Chaos Hall. Greetings, Master. At this time, Ningzu stepped forward and said respectfully. At this time, her breath was as strong as the sea, her blood was as long as the tide, and her true energy was as pure as flames. She was already in the half-step Purple Mansion realm, and she was just a little bit away from entering the Purple Mansion. The time acceleration formation is really mysterious. Xuanji said, it only took 20 years to reach the peak of foundation building. The speed is a bit fast. Small bottlenecks can be accelerated by time, but large bottlenecks cannot. To impact the Purple Mansion, you have to go through many tribulations, especially the Nightmare Wind tribulations and Karma Fire tribulations are extremely dangerous. I can't help you with these, but you need to take action. Xuanji said, I sense that you have the top double rest technique, and the true key double rest can help her refine the true key and polish the foundation. Here is up to you. After saying that, he disappeared. There were only 2 people left in the hall. Xuanji asked, Ningzu, how have you been these years? Not bad, it's just that I have been practicing in the time acceleration formation. It's a bit boring and a bit distracted. Ningzu said, I still miss my master a little. In the formation, I spent 50 years to enter the foundation building, and spent 130 years to enter the half-step Purple Mansion. Come, let's go to the bed. Okay. Ningzu nodded, her face blushing. When she got on the bed, she felt a little embarrassed, but she still untied her belt and outer clothes, revealing her beautiful body. Wait a minute, why are you taking off your clothes? Master, aren't we going to have a double rest? Double rest means that men and women take off their clothes, combine their spirits and bodies together, and break the bottleneck, right? No, we are having a true key double rest. I will inject true key into your body and exchange true key. This will be very beneficial to you. It can help you quickly purify true key, temper your body, and consolidate your foundation. Originally, it would take 30 to 50 years to enter the Purple Mansion, but now, with the help of true key double rest, it only takes 3 years. Xuanji said with a smile. Ningzu blushed, and immediately put on the outer clothes she had taken off, tied her belt, and arranged her outer clothes. There was an indescribable embarrassment in her expression. Double rest, so that's how it is, but she was thinking wrong. Sitting upright on the bed, the two of them connected their palms together. Xuanji led everything, and began to infuse his mana into his body. The mana contained pure yang qi, but it was only a trace, but it was a great tonic for Ningzu. Ningzu refined a trace of pure yang qi, and merged it with the pure yin qi in her body, tempering her body and soul, and her cultivation was slowly improving. The two seemed to be having a double rest, but their sizes were completely different, just like one was the sea and the other was the lake. The sea poured back into the lake, and just a little bit of water was enough to make the lake overflow and even face collapse. During this double rest, Xuanji had to carefully control the pure yang qi, slowly and steadily input it into Ningzu's body, so as not to be too strong, and the pure yang qi would pour back and directly support her body. With the backflow of pure yang qi, pure yang and pure yin were perfectly combined, evolving the supreme destiny. Ningzu's cultivation was rising step by step. The true key was compressed, starting from the 8th layer, and then compressed to the 7th layer, the 6th layer, the 5th layer, and finally to the 4th layer. This was a slow and laborious process. If it was an ordinary cultivator, it would take 10 or 20 years, but Ningzu completed it in just 3 months. Then, the meridians in the body were opened up quickly and steadily. The large meridians, the small meridians, and the tiny meridians were opened up quickly and steadily. Gradually, the acupoints in the body were opened up, the large acupoints, the acupoints, and the tiny acupoints. As the body became flawless, the ki and blood in the body fed back to the soul and polished the soul. The soul was improving step by step and soon completed its transformation. The nightmare whined, and the sky fire swept in, but the calamity only stayed for less than 10 breaths, and was easily dissolved and melted, and merged into a trace of tonic for the body. Woo 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 woo. At this moment, most of the calamity of the purple mansion had passed, and the spiritual energy of heaven and earth poured down. The spiritual energy poured back, washing the marrow, and removing the hair. The spiritual energy poured back, transforming the body. In this state, he was infinitely close to the great Dao, and his understanding of the Dao was unprecedentedly improved. After 10 breaths, the backflow of spiritual energy ended. It was difficult to ask the heart, the Dao, the luck, and the cause and effect. Even Lu Xuanji didn't know the mystery of the cause and effect and destiny in the dark, so he could only rely on himself. Ningzu's mind was in a trance, and she was overcoming the tribulation. But after just 3 breaths, her mind became clear, and the tribulation had been overcome. Whoosh! Ningzu's body flashed, suspended in the void, just standing quietly, immersed in the understanding of the Dao, unable to extricate herself. After each breakthrough in the great realm, the mind will be unprecedentedly active, and the understanding of the Dao will be unprecedentedly improved. After 3 days, Ningzu ended from this state. Her feet landed on the ground, her expression was full of joy, and there was a trace of confidence rising in her body. Cultivation is the foundation of self-confidence. In the past, due to insufficient cultivation, whether facing Lu Xuanji or Jinzi, he always had a slight sense of inferiority, spoke humbly, and lacked the courage to speak. Chapter 312 Distorted Time. Ningzu spoke, as sweet as an aureole. Master, I have entered the realm of Purple Mansion, and I'm also the ancestor of Purple Mansion. Congratulations. Lu Xuanji smiled and said, after achieving the Purple Mansion, I'm no longer an ordinary person. That is also because of the master's good teaching. If it weren't for the master, how could I have such an achievement? Ningzu said. Her words were respectful. She did not become arrogant and domineering because of her improved cultivation. Lu Xuanji nodded. Not bad, not bad. She did not become an ungrateful person. Many cultivators not only do not feel grateful after their cultivation is improved, but instead repay kindness with hatred. How do you feel? Lu Xuanji asked. Very strong, very comfortable. Ningzu said. Lu Xuanji asked some questions again, and Ningzu responded. The two talked for a while, before walking out of the retreat. When walking out of the side hall, Ningzu calculated the time. Only 5 years had passed. Remember that in Dandayang sect, some Xuanji cultivators also need 20 to 30 years, or even 50 years, to achieve the Purple Mansion. But she only spent 5 years. All this is thanks to the help of the master. It's called a double break, but it's actually the master's indoctrination. Not bad, not bad. Your foundation is solid, without a single flaw. Even when I first achieved the Dao of the Purple Palace, my foundation was not as solid as yours. Jinzi spoke, with a hint of envy in his words. The human body has its limits. Many times, after reaching the limit, it can no longer be improved a little bit. But Ningzu is good. With the assistance of a giant and cultivator with a pure yang body, her limits are constantly being expanded, and her foundation is constantly being consolidated. She didn't have such benefits at the beginning. Ningzu, take a break for a while. Jinzi ordered. Yes. Ningzu nodded and turned away. If you just stay in seclusion, your efficiency will decrease. It's best to combine work and rest. There are only 2 people left in the hall. Lu Xuanji asked curiously, where is the time formation? I'm also curious. Come over here. Jinzi said, grabbing Lu Xuanji's hand, and disappeared in a golden light. When he appeared again, he was already in the core hall. There is a pool in the center. There is green liquid in the pool, which emits a light fragrance. In the center of the pool is a tea tree. The tea tree is only 1 meter tall, with tender leaves. It is just a small sapling. There is a stone tablet in front. There are flashing lights on the stone tablet, and some lights are silent, as if they have not yet been activated. Is this a 4th grade enlightenment tea tree? Lu Xuanji stepped forward and stopped 2 meters away. Enlightenment tea is not special in the world of immortal cultivation. Some foundation building cultivators and purple mansion cultivators often buy some enlightenment tea to taste for themselves or to invite guests. But most of these enlightenment teas are between the 1st and 3rd grades. Not only is the planting area huge, but the output of spiritual trees is also high. They are often circulated in the market and are not so rare. But after the 4th grade, not only the number of spiritual trees is decreasing, but the output is also decreasing. Do you remember the enlightenment tea seed in the hall? According to my guess, it was the immortal enlightenment tea tree that turned into an immortal seed after its nirvana. After being watered with spiritual spring water, if it is continuously cultivated, it will turn into a 4th grade immortal. It will take at least 3,000 years to restore it to immortal. Xuanji said, sighing, thinking of some bad memories. If he could achieve enlightenment and become a god, he could still see the immortal enlightenment tea tree grow up. If he failed to achieve enlightenment and become a god, he would turn into ashes and could only leave it to others. Lu Xuanji asked, as far as I know, the Chaos Ancient Palace, the Enlightenment Tea Tree, etc., are extremely important not only to the Hedao cultivators, but also to the cultivators who are about to ascend. But why do those ascending cultivators leave their life magic treasures, precious immortal seeds, etc. in the mortal world for those who are destined to be with them? I don't think they are so kind. Xuanji said, when ascending to the immortal world, you will be suppressed by the laws of the immortal world. If you ascend nakedly without any magic treasures, the suppression of the laws of the immortal world can still be tolerated. But if you ascend with your life magic treasure, the pressure and disaster you bear will be even more fierce, and you will almost certainly die. So that's it. Lu Xuanji nodded. Walking to the stone tablet, Xuanji said, on the stone tablet, there is a formation called the time flowing light formation. When the formation is activated, the time can be accelerated up to 100 times. When the formation is running, the consumption of spirit stones is somewhat amazing. Can I enter the formation and practice for a while? Lu Xuanji asked. No. Xuanji refused directly. Don't even think about it. Why is that? Lu Xuanji asked. Xuanji said, the higher the cultivation level of a cultivator, the higher the realm, the stronger the resistance to time, and the more difficult it is to distort the time around him. When refining key, time can be accelerated to 20 times, but when it comes to foundation building, time can only be accelerated to 10 times. When it comes to purple mansion, it can be accelerated to 8 times at most. When it comes to golden elixir, it can be accelerated to 5 times at most. As for you, you are only a 4th turn golden elixir, but your foundation is deeper and your strength is stronger, so the effect of the time acceleration formation on you will be worse. But I still have to think about it. Lu Xuanji said. Okay, then go to that location. I'm there. Xuanji said. With a flashing figure, Lu Xuanji arrived in a side hall. I'm going to start. Okay. At this moment, the array pattern under his feet started to work, constantly distorting the void. The laws of heaven and earth were distorting, and time was accelerating. Lu Xuanji felt a little uncomfortable. His body was subconsciously resisting the distortion of time and fighting against the arrays around him. The distortion of time was intensifying, gradually overwhelming the resistance of Lu Xuanji's body. At this moment, the golden elixir, that seemed to be the size of a sesame seed in his danshan, was working. Along with the operation of the golden elixir of creation, it resisted the distortion of time. Crack, crack. After 3 breaths of stalemate, there was a violent noise in the void, and the array stopped working. Puff. In the distance, Xuanji spat out a mouthful of blood, and his breath became weak. Lu Xuanji stepped forward, held her hand, and said, "What happened?" "Backlash from injury." Xuanji said, "Ahem. You have a strong origin in your body, which resists the power of time distortion. Originally, by activating the great array of time, you can distort the time near the Jindan cultivator by 5 times. But it doesn't work for you. Your Jindan is too high grade, and I can't distort the law of time at all." "What kind of Jindan is this, and why is it so high grade?" After saying that, he coughed again and began to meditate on the spot to heal his injuries. This time, he activated the formation and suffered a backlash, and his injuries were somewhat serious. Xuanji looked at this scene and sighed slightly. Originally, he wanted to use the time acceleration formation to speed up his own cultivation and quickly enter the giant in 9 turns, but now it seems that it is impossible. Chapter 313 Bailing as Fate. Xuanji was recovering from his injuries, and it took about 3 months for him to recover. After recovering from his injuries, he took the opportunity to improve his cultivation and entered the second level of the nascent soul. From entering the nascent soul to now, it took a full 120 years to advance to a small realm, which is the nascent soul stage. Congratulations, you have entered the second level of the nascent soul. Xuanji stepped forward and congratulated him. Thank you for your good words. Xuanji smiled and said, on the road of cultivating immortals, the later you get, the more time you spend. It takes 3 to 5 years to break through a small realm in the key refining stage, but it takes more than 10 years to break through a small realm in the foundation building stage, and more than 20 years to break through a small realm in the purple mansion stage. It may take hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands of years to break through a small realm in the golden core, nascent soul, and god transformation stages. It may take hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands of years to break through a small realm. On the road of cultivating immortals, you need a firm heart of Tao. A firm heart of Tao requires the ability to endure loneliness and endure a long period of suffering. Even if you have been unable to make progress for hundreds or thousands of years, you still have a heart as firm as a rock. Xuanji sighed. Since ancient times, there has been no mortal who has made a golden core. This is the case for the golden core, and you can see how difficult it is above the golden core. I have recently entered the second level of the nascent soul, and it is useless to continue to practice hard. Why don't we travel outside and travel around the state of Chu, not too far? Xuanji said, if you just practice hard in seclusion, you will not know how the world changes. Okay. Xuanji nodded and said, over the years, I have been near Qingshu County and other areas of Chu State, but I haven't traveled yet. It's a good time to go out and walk around. The two discussed and planned to travel outside to relax. By the way, take Ningzu with them. Ningzu had just broken through the purple mansion and continued to retreat. It was not very useful, so she accompanied them to relax. Xuanji disguised himself. His aura was obscure, pretending to be a casual cultivator of foundation building. Xuanji also disguised himself, hiding his cultivation, and transformed into a foundation building. As for Ningzu, she also sealed her cultivation and transformed into the appearance of the 9th level of key training, pretending to be a maid. Just like that, a man, a woman and a maid, the 3 of them left quietly. There was no flying boat, no gorgeous decorations, just the appearance of an ordinary casual cultivator, walking leisurely, walking between the mountains, abandoning luxury, turning into ordinary. In order to play the role realistically, even most of the magic power on his body was directly sealed, turning into an ordinary appearance. Walking in the mountains, resting in caves in the mountains, roasting meat in front of the fire. The taste is not delicious, but it is real. Resting in the mountain villages, watching ordinary people multiply and live an ordinary and short life. Walking in the suburbs, being chased by robbers. They did not reveal their strength, but fled in panic. Going to the market, bargaining with people on the stalls, just to fight for a few spiritual stones. Ordering dishes, eating noodles, eating spicy food at the roadside stalls. At the beginning, Xuanji was a little uncomfortable, and Xuanji was also a little uncomfortable. After all, they had been high above for a long time, standing in the clouds for a long time, and suddenly they stepped on the soil and drank the cold spring water in the mountains, which was indescribable. Ningzu, on the contrary, was born with mortal parents. She only detected her spiritual roots at the age of 12, and the memory of her childhood as a mortal was deeply rooted in her bones. Even though he became the high and mighty Purple Mansion Patriarch, he was still familiar with everything in the mortal world and still remembered it. After 3 years, they gradually became familiar with everything in the mortal world and returned to the mortal world. In the 100,000 mountains, in the location of Kinkyu, In a mountain peak, a terrifying aura was surging, and the calamity clouds in the sky were condensing, turning into a dark mass, and the dark clouds pressed down on the city and threatened to destroy it. In the endless darkness, lightning and thunder were condensing, and the silver light was constantly flashing. The mountains danced with silver snakes, like a sharp sword slashing and killing. Chirp. At this moment, the void was flashing, and a six-tailed demon fox turned into a ray of light and entered the calamity cloud. Boom boom boom. The calamity cloud was condensing, and the tide of destruction came one after another. In the calamity cloud, the six-tailed fox was swinging, evolving a series of killing techniques. It was unknown how long it lasted, and the calamity in the sky dissipated. 6 foxes appeared in the void, their bodies changing, turning into a stunning woman, wearing a white palace dress, with a fox bun on her head, a round face, sword-like eyebrows, and a light rouge on her lips. She was tall, her skin was like jade, and she was emitting bursts of precious light. The colorful light descended from the sky and fell on her body, constantly tempering her body. After 10 seconds, the colorful light dissipated. Congratulations Linger, you have entered the nascent soul demon emperor, and you can expect longevity. At this time, a beautiful woman in palace dress came forward, with a stunning appearance, and came forward to congratulate. Congratulations, congratulations. Baelinger said. 500 years is the time to prove the nascent soul. I have never seen a genius like you. The beautiful woman in palace dress came forward and said, Linger is worthy of being the genius of my Kinkyu lineage. You can expect to become an immortal in the future. I will hold a banquet to celebrate. No need to be too extravagant. Baelinger said. The beautiful woman in palace dress approached, and at this moment, a rope flashed, turned into a spiritual light, and tied up Baelinger. Baelinger's body was suppressed, and her magic power was suppressed, and she could hardly move. She said in panic, Aunt, what do you mean? Linger, your bloodline is too talented, and your bloodline seems to have no shackles. You have grown a 6th tail in the early stage of the nascent soul. You can be said to be an unparalleled monster. I'm not as good as you, but Kinkyu can't accommodate a great god like you. You'd better die here. I devoured your bloodline, and I will definitely evolve a 6th tail and revitalize my Kinkyu lineage. The beautiful woman in palace dress looked at Baelinger as if she was looking at delicious food. Her eyes were bloodshot. She wanted to eat her. That word eat. Aunt, why bother? Even if you eat me, it will be difficult to evolve a 6th tail. Baelinger said. No, I have a supreme secret technique that can extract blood from your body and increase the probability of blood swallowing. I will definitely become a 6-tailed demon fox. The beautiful woman in palace dress screamed. No, Auntie is obsessed with the calamity and has lost herself. Baelinger said coldly. No, I can do it. The beautiful woman in palace dress said hysterically. Baelinger sighed. Is this my fate? The beautiful woman in palace dress stepped forward and stretched out her hand to grab Baelinger's body. When she was about to touch her body, Baelinger's body dissipated, turned into a foxtail. Damn it, she escaped. But she can't run far. I blocked the void around her. She can't go far at all. I still have a chance. The beautiful woman in palace dress said, urging the formation to start blocking Kinkyu. Chapter 314 Daoist friend, please stay. The Kinkyu clan was suddenly in a state of panic. As the formation was in operation, the beautiful Kinkyu mountains were in operation. Waves of terrifying killing power began to operate, and the power of void confinement continued to surge, confining everything and blocking everything. Waves of destruction followed one after another, seemingly to annihilate everything. The little foxes in Kinkyu were all horrified, with a trace of uneasiness in their eyes. Because the last time such a formation was activated, 3 demon kings attacked. In that battle, the Kinkyu clan certainly repelled the powerful enemy, but its own losses were not small, especially those foundation building demon beasts and purple mansion demon beasts, which suffered heavy losses. This time, such a large formation was in operation again, and I don't know how much loss there will be, and how many geniuses will die. At this moment, a beautiful woman in palace dress appeared, standing in the void, high above, looking down at everything. The powerful cultivation of the 9th level of the nascent soul burst out, like a scorching sun rising in the void. Waves of destruction one after another. Not only that, the beautiful woman in palace dress kept scanning with her mind, insight into every corner of Kinkyu, constantly looking, searching, as if looking for something. But the mind kept scanning for a long time, and the area within a radius of 3,000 miles was completely scanned, leaving no blind spots, but still no trace was found, as if it had completely disappeared. Disappeared in Kinkyu, disappeared in the dark. At this moment, the beautiful woman in palace dress spoke. Her expression was cold and murderous. Not long ago, a human Yuanying true lord went deep into my Kinkyu and attacked the pride of my Kinkyu lineage. Poor Kinkyu pride Balinger encountered a disaster and died a violent death. You must search carefully for any traces. That human true lord is good at disguise and hiding his own breath. He disguised himself as Balinger. If you meet the cultivator disguised as Balinger, you must notify me. Chief, we understand. Chief, we know. The damn human race actually killed the pride of my demon race. The next time the beast tide comes, they will surely destroy many human cultivators. There are too many hateful humans. Kill, kill, kill. The lower level demons, upon hearing that Balinger was killed by a human true lord, were filled with righteous indignation and murderous intent. They wished they could go to the human race's territory, kill people, and avenge their hatred. As for the words of the clan leader, there was not much doubt. It was because the human race and the demon race had been fighting for a long time, and there was some blood feud between them. The two sides fought all kinds of open and secret battles. The human race's geniuses often lurked in the demon race's territory, hunted monsters, picked spiritual herbs, and obtained cultivation resources. Similarly, the demon cultivators often descended on the human race's territory and hunted the geniuses of the human race. Such a confrontation lasted for a long time. Every year, a large number of demon geniuses died in the assassination of the human race. Similarly, a large number of human geniuses died in the hunting of the demon race. It was just that this time, the human race played a little too big and directly sent a Yuanying's engine to hunt Balinger. The hand was a bit huge. Thinking that Balinger was only more than 400 years old, she was at the peak of the golden elixir, and she had grown a sixth tail. It can be said that she had the qualifications of a demon fairy. Unfortunately, she was assassinated by the demon race, and they were all murderous. After searching for a while, she couldn't find any trace, so the beautiful woman went to the periphery to look for it. At this moment, the foxtail that fell to the ground changed and turned into Balinger's appearance. When the fake becomes true, the true becomes false. When the real becomes true, the real becomes false. When the inaction becomes something, it becomes nothing. Balinger said, "Aunt, you still attack me." Thinking of her aunt attacking her, her heart was broken. After her parents died, her aunt was really good to her, like her own daughter. However, when she grew her sixth tail, she felt jealousy in her aunt's eyes, and a hint of murderous intent. Before she crossed the calamity, she urged her sixth tail to peek into the future, and saw her aunt attack her. Then she was killed by her aunt, and thrown into the alchemy furnace, to be refined into a blood pill. Aunt took the blood pill to grow a sixth tail, but failed. The blood pill only has a certain probability of awakening the sixth tail, and there is no guarantee of success. When she saw this scene, Balinger was stunned, and almost had a mental breakdown. But she still suppressed the restlessness in her heart. Things in the future have not happened yet. There are infinite possibilities, countless changes. The future she peeked into was just one of the many changes in the future, and it would not necessarily happen. On the contrary, because she peeked into it, the future would no longer be this change. When activating the magical power, peek into the future scene can only be used as a reference and cannot be regarded as something that will inevitably happen in the future. She had made some preparations, but not long ago, her aunt attacked her. Recalling what happened, Balinger felt a pain in her heart. Is this my fate? Balinger said, my bloodline is too strong. There are almost no shackles. Even my aunt wants to kill me. Is this my fate? Thinking of this, tears came to Balinger's eyes. The bloodline of the demon race determines everything, and the bloodline determines the higher level of cultivation. Aunt is already the 9th level of the nascent soul, but in the past long years, she still cannot break through the shackles of the bloodline and grow a 6th tail. As long as she cannot grow a sixth tail, her potential will be over, and she will not have the chance to enter the realm of transformation. But she is only at the peak of the golden core, that is, she will grow a sixth tail, and she has great potential in the future. There is almost no bottleneck before the transformation of the spirit, and the probability of entering the transformation of the spirit is at least 5 levels. The comparison is increasing, and the jealousy is also increasing. The feelings from blood are not as good as the desire for immortality. Success is due to blood, and failure is also due to blood. The strong blood brings her disaster, all of which seems to be a fixed number in the dark. Concentrating her thoughts, Beiling's figure flashed, turned into a stream of light, and walked out of Kinkyu. Leave here and be a wandering fox. Aunt is the 9th level of the nascent soul, and her cultivation is strong. She can't fight at all, so she can only avoid it. As for the Kinkyu lineage, there are other nascent soul elders, but they are not as good as Aunt in cultivation, and it is impossible for them to come out to preside over justice. If they really come out to preside over justice, they will be beaten to death by Aunt. It's better to leave. Wait until her cultivation is strong, then talk about other things. But when she is strong in cultivation, when she thinks of this, Beilinga shook her head and turned silent. The power of Kinkyu's formation decreased a lot after losing the aunt's leadership. Beilinga headed west, just in the opposite direction of her aunt's departure, and left Kinkyu a moment later. The footsteps continued to move forward. After walking for 3 days and 3 nights, suddenly the golden sun in the void fell on the ground and turned into a man in a golden robe. He stepped forward and said, "Daoao, please stay." Chapter 315, The Demon King's Forced, Forbidden Secret Technique. In the mountains, as the golden sun set, a man in a golden robe appeared. He was tall and majestic, exuding the breath of sunshine and warmth, like a sunny and warm man. When he opened his mouth, he blocked Beilinga's way forward. "Daoao, what do you mean?" Beilinga asked. The man in the golden robe said, "Daoao, everything that happened in Kinkyu may deceive some low-level cultivators, but it can't deceive us. There is nothing new under the sun, only repetitions. Your aunt is narrow-minded. Seeing that you have an extraordinary talent, she wanted to assassinate you, but you escaped. Now the Kinkyu lineage is wanted for you. You have limited ways to retreat. If you are hunted down, it is better to join my Jinwu clan. This emperor is a 9th level nascent soul cultivator, not inferior to your aunt, and can naturally protect your safety. When you become powerful, I will kill back to Kinkyu to avenge you." Beilinga smiled and said, "Daoao, this is slandering my body. You want to use me as a cauldron to help you break through the level of transformation." The man in the golden robe nodded and said, "At our level, the so-called lies are of little use. Instead, they will lose our own style and bearing. If Daoao joins my Jinwu lineage, I, Wu Xingyan, am willing to treat Daoao as my queen, and will never leave you. When I enter the God transformation stage, I will definitely help you enter the God transformation stage. I will never break my promise. If I fail you, I will be punished by heaven and earth." As he said this, Wu Xingyan raised his right hand and began to swear. Beilinga sensed the mood change of the Golden Crow Demon King and confirmed that what he said was true. If she agreed to become his Taoist partner at this moment, Wu Xingyan would protect him for life, even at the cost of fighting with her aunt. All of this was true. In this way, she could use her 6-tailed fox physique to break the shackles and enter the God transformation stage. At the same time, she would have an additional future God transformation Taoist partner and could indirectly control the Kinkyu Fox clan. It can be said that it was killing 3 birds with 1 stone, and there were many benefits. As for selling her to her aunt would not give him too many benefits. Even if she agreed temporarily, she might regret it. And she was only at the first level of the nascent soul stage. Not only was she easy to control, but she also had a lot of profit. As for her, she could also use Wu Xingyan's cultivation to obtain a 9th level nascent soul or even a God transformation level protector, and her future would be bright. She could also use him to fight against her aunt and return to the Kinkyu lineage. They joined together and became Taoist partners, which was beneficial to both sides. The only bad thing was that no matter who won or lost, Kinkyu would give up part of its profits and become a vassal of a certain big clan. Forget it. If I marry you as a Taoist partner, you will definitely use me as an excuse to deal with King Qiu, and the interests of the King Qiu clan will inevitably be greatly damaged. My aunt has let me down, but King Qiu is innocent. I can't be so shameless as to lead outsiders to deal with King Qiu in order to avenge my hatred. Beilinger refused directly. You will refuse, but your aunt will not refuse. Wu Xingyan said, Linger, if you refuse me, you will be an enemy of the Jinwu clan. At that time, it will no longer be the King Qiu clan that will chase you, but also my Jinwu clan. The words were threatening. Beilinger said, if I become an old hand in a few hundred years, I may agree to your request and sacrifice the interests of King Qiu just for revenge, but now, I can't do this. Taoist friend, please get out of the way. Wu Xingyan said, why should Taoist friend? Beilinger said, I'm sorry. Wu Xingyan said coldly, if we cultivators want to go far, we must learn two things. One is wisdom and kindness. Don't offend others easily, even if they are just insignificant people. The other is ruthlessness. Never offend people easily, but once you offend someone, you must cut the grass and root it out to eliminate future troubles, and never leave yourself with disasters. Before the interception, I had two plans. One was that fellow Taoist agreed to me and became my Taoist partner. At that time, I would help fellow Taoist to return to King Qiu and take revenge. The other was that fellow Taoist refused me. Then I could only forcibly arrest fellow Taoist and use him as a cauldron. Fellow Taoist, why are you forcing me? Beilinger said, I'm not forcing you, but I look down on you. They were about to fall out, and Beilinger didn't care, and said directly, even if I become your Taoist partner, and practice dual cultivation, fellow Taoist will not be able to enter the God transformation. God transformation is too difficult. If you can break through the transformation of the gods by relying on Xuanji, the yin-yang demon vein would have been invincible in the world long ago. Daoyao, your hope of breaking through the transformation of the gods is pinned on Xuanji, which is already a failure. I don't care. A trace of mania flashed in Wu Xingyan's eyes, revealing a trace of madness and unwillingness. As long as I capture you, I can break through the bottleneck and achieve the transformation of the gods. Waving his hand to capture, the huge palm rushed down from the sky. The void was grasping, and everything changed in his palm. The cultivation of the 9th level of the nascent soul burst out. Swish. At this moment, Beilinger urged the teleportation secret art and was about to leave in an instant, but she flew less than 100 meters and hit the transparent barrier and fell to the ground. Since this emperor has taken action, it is impervious to any leaks. You are proficient in the teleportation secret art. In an instant, you can teleport thousands of miles away. But this deity has set up a siege formation here, so you surrender. Wu Xingyan stepped forward and said, with a hint of ridicule in his words, don't even think about it. A trace of stubbornness flashed in Beilinger's eyes. In that case, I'll fight. Forbidden secret technique. Burn the 6 tails. Beilinger activated the secret technique, and suddenly the 6 tails behind him burned up, turning into flames that entered his body. A tremendous force was added to his body, and his cultivation level immediately climbed up, from the 1st level of nascent soul, the 2nd level of nascent soul, and the 3rd level of nascent soul to the 8th level of nascent soul. What kind of secret technique is this? Wu Xingyan was horrified, and he stepped back subconsciously, feeling a little palpitation. There is actually a secret technique that can improve 8 small realms in one fell swoop. At this moment, Beilinger has reached the 8th level of nascent soul, which is only 1 level lower than him in cultivation, but the aura she exudes makes him feel a little afraid. Kill. Beilinger activated this secret technique, and suddenly a blood-colored long knife appeared on her palm. There were blood-colored lines on it, and there was a trace of murderous aura. As the long knife chopped and killed, it was like a punishment from heaven, beheading Wu Xingyan. Wu Xingyan did not dare to neglect it. A big bell appeared above his head, and he was about to suppress it. At this moment, Beilinger chopped towards the barrier. Suddenly, the invisible barrier shattered on the spot. Beilinger jumped out, and the aura on her body dropped again. Swish. Activating the escape technique, Beilinger disappeared. You can't run away, so just be my cauldron. Wu Xingyan sensed the aura in the distance, and turned into a stream of light to chase after him. Chapter 316, Hunter. Human robbery. Swish, swish, swish. The void was flashing, and a white fox was running fast in the void. Behind, there was a golden crow, activating the rainbow transformation technique, chasing after it. They were too fast. They were moving quickly in the sky, and ordinary cultivators could not catch their traces at all. They only saw a white light and a red light. Cough, cough, cough. The white fox was teleporting, and every moment it was 100 miles away. The speed was extremely fast, and ordinary Yuan cultivators would have lost it long ago. But the rainbow transformation technique of the golden crow lineage was too fast, not inferior to the teleportation of the Kinkyu lineage, and even better in speed. Cough, cough, cough. The white fox coughed again, and a trace of despair flashed in her eyes. Her breath was declining. Activating the forbidden secret technique would inevitably cost a huge price. Not only would her 6 tails be cut off, but her bloodline would also be damaged. The distance between them was getting shorter and shorter. If she continued, she would be caught up and become a furnace in Wu Xingyan's hands. Not only would she be humiliated alive, but she would also be killed when she was used up. I was still careless. I peeked into the future, but I only peeked into a corner of the future. I avoided the Peacock Demon Emperor Kang Le, but was intercepted by the Golden Crow Demon Emperor Wu Xingyan. Am I really going to die? The white fox said unwillingly. Her eyes were a little bloodshot. Could this be my nascent soul tribulation? Am I going to die here? She awakened her 6 tails and 6 magical powers, corresponding to charm, teleport, death substitute, doppelganger, disguise, and peek into the future. Peeking into the future can peek into a trace of the future secrets, and a trace of destiny has been touched in the dark. I also peeked into a trace of future danger. But the future I saw was only incomplete, just a possibility of the future, and it was very misleading. There were variables in the future. I avoided the Peacock Demon Emperor, but was intercepted by the Golden Crow Demon Emperor. Swish. His body was weakening, his breath was fading, and Wu Xingyan, who was chasing him from behind, was approaching. The distance between the two of them was getting closer, and it seemed that he would be chased and killed in the next moment. Let's fight. The white fox said decisively, and took a blood-burning pill directly, and began to activate the potential of life. The speed was accelerating. The distance that had been shortened was widening again. One of them was running for his life, and the other was chasing him. Soon they reached the edge of the 10,000 mountains. Swish. At this moment, the two entered the territory of the human race. When they entered the territory of the human race, a breath was activated, and it was sensed by the powerful human race nearby. Then a Yuan engine came here at lightning speed. The human race and the demon race both have corresponding territories. If a purple mansion cultivator or a golden elixir cultivator enters the area of both sides, it will not alarm the Yuan master at all. But if a Yuan master enters the territory, the corresponding Yuan master will also be dispatched, and the speed is extremely fast to quickly drive away the invader. Linger, the human law enforcers are coming, hurry up. At this moment, Wu Xingyan reminded. The white fox ignored him, and continued to move forward, but at a much slower speed. At this moment, a human cultivator appeared in front of him, with a strong aura. He was at the 9th level of the nascent soul, and was not inferior to the leader of the Kinkyu clan, the Golden Crow Demon King. Seeing this scene, the human warrior couldn't help but laugh. The Golden Crow Demon King is chasing after the Kinkyu warriors. You demons are fighting among yourselves. As he spoke, he exuded a terrifying aura, and blocked the white fox's escape route. At the next moment, the white fox changed, and turned into a foxtail. She escaped. Wu Xingyan said angrily, looking at the Taoist in front of him, and shouted, Lord Jimmy, you humans are good enough. Go to my demon territory, and kill my demon pride Bailinger. I will never stop fighting with you humans. Golden Crow burning the sky. As he said that, Wu Xingyan took a step forward, his whole body flashing with golden flames. Behind him appeared the Golden Crow wearing a crown. The aura of his whole body condensed, and turned into a wave of ripples that rushed to the sky, sweeping over. Sun God Fist. Lord Jimmy was not polite either. The cultivation of the 9th level of the nascent soul burst out, and the endless power of annihilation surged. The grey mana swept over, and turned into a corrosive dark cloud, suppressing everything. In the void, gray and gold mixed together. The grey dark cloud eroded the golden sun, as if to annihilate the golden sun. The son of the golden crow was moving, like a large furnace surging, emitting the true fire of the sun, burning everything. Even the grey clouds were missing apart. Both sides opened fire, clashed with each other, and entered into a bloody fight. Kai kai. Violent noises continued. Above 10,000 meters in the sky, within a radius of 30 miles, the two sides clashed with each other. The flames of destruction fell and ignited the earth, and grey water drops fell and corroded the ground. At the moment of the battle, both of them tried to fight in the sky as much as possible to avoid affecting the ground and the villages on the ground, but the aftermath of the battle still caused severe damage to the ground. In just an instant, the ground either became bumpy or was burnt by the barbecue. At this moment, another breath appeared from the human race, and reinforcement came. Wu Xingyan saw that the situation was not good. In order to avoid being besieged by the strong men of the human race, he urged the rainbow transformation technique and turned into a golden light and disappeared. The Taoist of Jimmy panted slightly and gave up the pursuit. The fighting power of the two was not much different. If Wu Xingyan was forced into a corner, he would not be able to withstand a fatal blow in his dying counterattack. At the 9th level of the nascent soul, both sides were afraid of each other and were reluctant to fight. 30,000 miles away, a white fox collapsed on the ground. It activated the secret technique to transform into a human form. It was wearing a silver palace dress, and its aura was elegant and charming, but its face was pale, and it was seriously injured. Not good. I used the forbidden secret technique and kept running for my life. My injuries are a bit serious, and I can't maintain my human form. Bailina coughed, and her body changed, turning into the appearance of a white fox. Her aura was falling, and the nascent soul fell to the golden core, fell to the purple mansion, the foundation building, the key training, and finally fell to the state of mortal fox. Not only that, the 6 tails behind it disappeared, leaving only one. After a while, a human approached, looked at the fox on the ground, and said, "It's an injured fox, a good fox, and its skin is top quality. If you take away the skin of this fox, you can definitely make a top quality scarf." As he said that, the human hunter came forward and lifted the fox's hind legs. This hunter was just immortal. If it was a normal time, he could kill a large group of people in seconds with just a breath. But now his vitality is seriously injured, and even a mortal hunter can kill him. Thinking that a generation of Demon King will die at the hands of a hunter, tears fell from her eyes. Could this be her human calamity? The fox struggled, but was tied up with a rope in just a moment. She wanted to struggle but couldn't. Snap. The fox fainted. Chapter 317 Saving the Fox. In the mountain city, a man and a woman appeared, along with a maid. The man was about 20 years old, with a slender figure, exuding elegance and calmness. He held a folding fan in his white jade-like hand. He had a handsome face, star-shaped eyebrows and sharp eyes, and a faint smile on his lips. The woman was also in her early 20s, with a face like a peony, rosy cheeks, rosy lips, and a body like a spring willow, plump, sexy, and charming. She was wearing a purple dress, which added a touch of elegance. Behind them, there was a maid, holding a bag, half a step behind them. This maid was also slender and beautiful, but she was much inferior to the man and woman. It was Lu Xuanji, Jinzi and others. When they arrived in the small town, the two went to a restaurant and approached the window. Jinzi ordered the menu, and the food was served quickly. On the table, there were more than a dozen delicacies. Jinzi took out the chopsticks and began to taste. Lu Xuanji also tasted casually. At this moment, he subconsciously looked down and saw a hunter carrying a fox to sell it in the market. This fox was like white jade, with pure fur without a trace of impurities. Interesting. Lu Xuanji frowned slightly, as if he sensed something. Ningzu, go down and buy this fox? Yes. Ningzu nodded, without asking any more questions. The next moment, he disappeared. A moment later, Ningzu went up to the restaurant again, but with a white fox in her hand. Lu Xuanji continued to eat. A quarter of an hour later, he was full and started to pay the bill. Arriving at an inn, the three of them entered and started to stay. The rooms here are not luxurious, but simple and clean. Master, is there anything special about this fox? Ningzu looked at the fox and checked it up and down for a long time, but did not find any abnormality, and said, I checked it, it's a female fox. Turning over the fox's body, it was confirmed that it was a female. She is not a demon beast, there is no demonic aura on her body. Ningzu said. No, she is a demon beast, and a demon king. Xuanji said. This is the demon king. The demon king is an essence soul demon, but this fox is too weak. I can kill it with one hand. Ningzu pinched the fox and felt that the fox had no advantages except that its fur was white. Xuanji spoke up and said, this is a seriously injured demon king. It's just a little strange. The breath of this demon king is a little strange. In my perception, there is no breath similar to her in the Kinkyu lineage. The world is big, but it is also small. In the 100,000 mountains, there are only a few nascent soul demons, and the circle is very small. She remembered the breath of those demon beasts, but none of them was similar to the breath of the demon beast in front of her. Moreover, it seems a little unreasonable for such a seriously injured state to appear in the human territory. Xuanji said, I'm familiar with her aura. She is the pride of the Kinkyu clan. When she was defeated by me, she was only in the foundation building stage. After entering the purple mansion, she wanted to capture me and take me back to Kinkyu to be a furnace. But I never thought that she is now a nascent soul demon king, and she is still seriously injured. She can't even maintain her human form. Facing it now, should we kill it or not? A trace of murderous intent flashed in Xuanji. If it is not of my race, its heart must be different. It should be killed. Xuanji said, your murderous intent is a bit strong. Xuanji said, Zia, what do you think? I heard that the foxes of the Kinkyu clan are all peerless beauties, and those who enter the Demon King realm are extremely rare. Xuanji, I thought about it. The probability of you entering the 10th turn of the golden elixir is very low. Now the probability is not even 1 in 1,000. Xuanji pondered, if we have the help of this Kinkyu Demon King, the probability of Xuanxiu entering will increase a little, maybe to 1%. Why not save her? As the saying goes, a life-saving grace is worth a life-saving grace. It is only natural that she sacrifices her body to help you break through the bottleneck and improve your cultivation. Xuanji was thinking about it without thinking about anything else, just thinking about how much benefit she can bring to her Taoist partner. This is not good. Xuanji said. Xuanji said indifferently, on the road of cultivation, every step forward is extremely difficult and extremely challenging. In order to increase some probability, even if it is only 1% or 1,000th, it is also good. Many times, success or failure depends on that extremely small probability. As for those who are not of my race, their hearts must be different. This principle is suitable for the lower level cultivators. After reaching the nascent soul stage, there is no racial hatred between cultivators. There is only the pursuit of immortality and the vision of the great Dao. Many demon kings have some friends in the human race. Similarly, some demon kings also have some friends in the human territory. In the world of cultivating immortals, the human race and the demon race fight to the death at the foundation building level, the purple mansion level, and the golden elixir level. But after reaching the nascent soul stage, the relationship between the human race's true lord and the demon race's demon king becomes subtle. Some of them are indeed in a life and death struggle with hatred. Some of them are good friends. At the nascent soul level, there is no racial hatred, only the pursuit of cultivation. The nascent soul of the human race, apart from the hatred and revenge for a few demon kings who killed too many humans, most demon kings are not very disgusted and will cooperate with each other if there is a need for profit. Time is passing, and after a long time, the little fox opened her eyes and found herself lying on the bed. She looked around vigilantly, but saw a familiar shadow. Xuanji, did you save me from the hunter? He resolved my human calamity. The little fox opened her eyes and felt the changes in her body. Most of her cultivation was wasted, and she was so weak that it seemed that a cultivator at the second level of key refining could kill her. But she breathed a sigh of relief, because the calamity energy shrouding her head had completely dissipated, and she was safe next. Thank you, said the little fox. Why are you so miserable? Lu Xuanji asked curiously. My aunt plotted against me, and I was hunted by Wu Xingyan. The little fox said, recounting his miserable life experience after he passed the tribulation and became a nascent soul. Lu Xuanji comforted him. Please accept my condolences. Xuanji, the first time I saw you, I felt that you would be of great benefit to me. But the feeling was not clear. Later, I thought it was your pure yang body that attracted me. But now it seems that it is not the case at all. But you have a special destiny that can dissolve the tribulation in me. If it weren't for you saving me, I would have died in the hands of hunters. The little fox said, this way of dying can be said to be the most aggrieved demon king in history. No doubt about it. Xuanji said, little fox, how can you repay your life-saving grace? The little fox said, how about repaying your life-saving grace with your body? Xuanji originally intended to coerce and induce, but before he opened his mouth, the little fox agreed. The little fox continued, in fact, I would have agreed, even if you didn't say it. My bloodline is strong and my talent is amazing, but the calamity on my body is also fierce. If I don't have a Taoist partner with strong luck to dissolve the calamity on my body, even if I escape this time, I will die in the calamity next time. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 318, Peeping into the Future. On the bed, the little fox stood up, and when he talked about the moment of devoting himself to the man, his expression was very calm. Xuanji was slightly surprised. It's just a one-night stand. Xuanji doesn't plan to take you as his Taoist partner. There are many benefits to marrying me as your Taoist partner. Counting on his fingers, the little fox began to sort out and began to say, first, there are some rare specialties in the 10,000 mountains, which are scarce in human areas. I can provide them for you. It's fair and affordable, and will never let the Lu family suffer. Second, I'm a six-tailed demon fox. My celestial fox body is a supreme tonic for male cultivators. If you take a weekend with me, the speed will be much faster, and even the probability of impacting the god transformation can be increased out of thin air. Third, I'm a six-tailed demon fox. I have 6 tails. There is no bottleneck before the god transformation. It may only take 300 years to enter the god transformation realm and become your backer. But Xuanji needs at least 1,000 years to enter the god transformation, and it may even be lucky to enter the god transformation in 1500 years. Now your backer is Xuanji, but I will be your backer in the future. Fourth, the little fox was silent when he said this, and then he said, you want to reach the 10th level of the golden elixir, I will help you. I have a magical power called Peek into the Future, which can peek into a corner of the future of some people. With my help, your chance of reaching the 10th level of the golden elixir will increase from 1% to 1/10. Peek into the future. What kind of magical power is this? Can you really see the future? Lu Xuanji asked. The little fox said, the past does not change, but the future is changeable. The future has countless possibilities and countless development directions. Peek into the future is just a peek into a certain possibility or a certain fragment of the future. When you peek into it, the future has already changed. The future you peek into may not happen. However, this magical power must be of great reference value. There is no regret medicine in life, but when you control the moment of peek into the future, you have the power to regret, and you can try and make mistakes again and again. Find the most suitable method and the most suitable path for yourself. Lu Xuanji had a look of horror in his eyes. Xuanji was also surprised. At this moment, they felt the horror of this magical power. Peeping into the future does not make a cultivator invincible, but it does give him the opportunity to make continuous trials and errors. Especially, Lu Xuanji wanted to reach the 10th level of the golden core. Even with all the preparations, his success rate was still less than 1%. But with the help of the little fox and peeping into the future, his chance of success increased to 1/10. Xuanji said, there must be corresponding limitations for peeping into the future, otherwise, I would have been invincible long ago. The little fox nodded and said, there are limitations. Now, I can only peek once a day. If my realm is improved, my peeping ability will be improved accordingly. In addition, the realm of some cultivators is higher than mine, and it will be more difficult to peek into their future. It will become blurry or even blank. If you encounter a cultivator with great luck, or a top level magic weapon intervenes, the future you peek into will be blurry or even wrong. The so-called peeping into the future is more of a reference. Don't take it as something that will inevitably happen in the future. Peeping into the future is just seeing a corner of the future. You may avoid a certain disaster, but fall into another disaster. If peeping into the future is really invincible, how could I fall into despair and be almost killed by hunters? Xuanji was angry and stepped forward to knock on the little fox's head. Xuanji has great luck and is protected by a treasure. Under such circumstances, the little fox is very likely to make mistakes when performing peeping into the future and may be led into the ditch. The wrong answer is also the answer, Xuanji said many times. If you eliminate all the wrong answers, the remaining answer must be the correct answer. The little fox continued. The sixth tail's magical power is peek into the future. If my guess is correct, the seventh tail should be see the past. Peek into the future and see some changes in the future. See the past and see what happened in the past and sense what happened in the past. If one is not important, but the two are combined together, you can understand the various changes in the past and the future, comprehend the mysteries of the catastrophe, avoid various calculated disasters, and it is difficult to die. Xuanji asked again, and the little fox answered. Not long after, Xuanji took out some healing pills and gave them to the little fox. The little fox digested the pills and his cultivation was slowly improving. About 3 days later, he could transform into a human form and a flawless beauty. His breath was ethereal and charming, and his every move was full of great charm. In the days that followed, the little fox was recovering from his injuries. Time passed, and about a year later, the little fox's injuries healed. The six tails were restored again. Her body was still a little weak. The sequelae of performing the forbidden secret technique had not yet healed. Her foundation was damaged. She needed to recuperate for 100 years before her injuries could heal. If you want to recover from your injuries, ordinary healing pills are not very effective. I need your help. The little fox smiled and said, the pure yang body is the supreme healing pill. Sister Xuanji, are you willing to give it to me? I'm willing to give it to you. Of course I'm willing to give it to you. Xuanji smiled, looking very generous. She clenched her fists tightly and suppressed the urge to hit the fox. When she got on the bed, she put her hands together, and the magic power was transmitted from one side to the other, and then circulated. During the circulation, the pure yin energy of the woman and the pure yang energy of the man collided with each other, merged with each other, and derived supreme good fortune. The whole process was very disciplined. Her cultivation did not improve, but her injured origin was recovering, and her blood was steadily improving. The little fox felt comfortable all over, and could not help but make a slight sound. Xuanji clenched her fists and turned away. She was afraid that if she stayed, she would not be able to help but beat the fox. Not long ago, she had a fight with the little fox, and the little fox was defeated and called her sister directly. But Xuanji smiled on her face, but cursed in her heart. This little fox is very cunning. After the weekend, the little fox looked refreshed. With the help of the weekend to heal his wounds, another 3 years passed in the blink of an eye. On this day, Xuanji asked, the strong ones who have refined the void can break the void and see through the nothingness. They can use the cracks in the fairy world to extract a trace of fairy energy for their own use. When they reach the strong ones who have combined the way, their divine thoughts are powerful, and they can even send a trace of divine thoughts to the fairy world, see through the whole picture of the fairy world, perceive the laws of the fairy world, and perfect their own path. Temper the flesh, and transform it into a semi-immortal body, or even an immortal body. But how can a mere child and cultivator perceive the fairy world, and how can he send a trace of divine thoughts to the fairy world? Such a feat is almost impossible. Chapter 319 The Little Fox Leaves. Chapter 320 Lu Fan enters foundation building. 5-element sword. The little fox left. At the moment of leaving, Xuanji felt a little sad. But after the sadness, it turned into a bit of determination. He was still too weak With the departure of the little fox, Xuanji's mood was getting worse. Just 3 days later, the token on Xuanji's body rang, and a message came. He frowned slightly, but still said, "I'm leaving. Because the demon king of the 10,000 mountains has been dispatched, I have to go to confront him." Xuanji said nervously, "Will there be a war?" "I don't know." Xuanji said, "I estimate that the probability of a war is not high, because it is not worth it." According to the agreement between the 10,000 mountains and the state of Chu, the fight between the two sides is mainly in the 4 stages of key refining, foundation building, purple mansion, and golden core. After reaching the nascent soul stage, the two sides will not easily go to war, because it is not worth it. When you reach the nascent soul stage, unless some special secret realms are opened, or some precious treasures, the nascent soul cultivators rarely fight each other. The possibility of a war is not high, but accidents cannot be ruled out. After a moment of instruction, Xuanji disappeared. Because of Xuanji's departure, Xuanji also lost the mood to travel, and took Ningzu back to the Lu family. After saying hello, the Lu family's mountain protection formation was running, entering a state of war, ready to fight at any time. Generally speaking, there are few wars between Yuanying cultivators, just like the Rabbit Country and the Golden Eagle Country in the previous life, will not easily go to war, but if there is an accidental discharge, the two sides can also prepare for the worst. There are always various accidents in the world. With the confrontation on the front line, the situation became tense. The nearby Xuan family also entered the state of war, as if they were ready to fight at any time. The storm is coming, and time is passing, while preparing for war. But 3 years later, the confrontation ended. The Yuanying of both sides evacuated, and Xuanji was relieved when he got the news. Finally, there is no need to fight. If the Yuanying of both sides fight thoroughly and get angry, the Yuanying cultivator may also die. As for those low-level Jiandan cultivators, Zifu cultivators, foundation building cultivators, etc., it is unknown how many people have died. Once the war begins, no one can guarantee that they can survive to the end. Such a war should not be fought, if it is possible. What is the purpose of cultivating immortals? It is not to fight and kill, but to enjoy life and to achieve immortality. There is no major conflict. Both sides try to control the scale of the war, and try not to let the nascent soul cultivators join the war, so as not to lose control of the war. Now both sides have signed an agreement and both sides have withdrawn their troops. The war can no longer be fought. Time passed, and another 3 years passed. On this day, a breath of air rose to the sky in the Lu family, exuding a terrifying aura. Xuanji stepped forward, and arrived at the door of the cave, waiting patiently. After a long time, the door of the cave opened, and a handsome man walked out. He was tall, and his aura was running with the 5 element, and the 5 element were born and died. He exuded a heroic aura all over his body. It was the second son Lufan. "Greetings, father." Lufan stepped forward. "Finally, the foundation has been established. Not bad." Xuanji looked at his son, breathed a sigh of relief, with a look of relief in his eyes. This youngest son has poor aptitude, with only 5 spiritual roots. Even though his spiritual roots were improved later, he used the 5 element peacock blood essence to temper his body, and the dragon transformation sutra, etc. After all these efforts, he finally became a foundation building cultivator at the age of 53. This speed is not fast, but it is not slow either. It's still my father's good teaching. If he hadn't taught me well, I might not have made it this far, Lufan said with joy. If it weren't for the support of his old father, how could he, a cultivator with 5 spiritual roots, build his foundation? Could it be that he was determined, not abandoning, and not giving up? Not bad. Keep working hard. Xuanji smiled, as if he thought of something, and directly took out the Lihuo sword, and handed it over. This is the first magic weapon I refined. I originally planned to be a sword cultivator, but later I found that I was not the material for a sword cultivator at all. I was just a sword rotten wood. This sword is for you. My 3 attacks are sealed inside. If you encounter an invincible enemy, you can release it to save your life. Just don't use it lightly, Xuanji said. Thank you, father. Lu Fan took the Lihuo sword and activated the sword, which immediately made a buzzing sound. This is a 4th grade spiritual treasure, which is also extremely rare for giant and cultivators. It would be a bit of a waste to give it directly to a foundation building cultivator, but Lu Fan is his son, so who else can he give it to? Judging from the seal of this sword, it is only a 2nd grade one. As the cultivation level increases, the Lihuo sword will be gradually unsealed. By the way, these 4 swords are also for you. Xuanji took out 4 more swords and handed them over. These 4 swords are the Wutu Divine Sword, Zhengjin Divine Sword, Kishu Divine Sword, Yamu Divine Sword, etc. If they are combined with the Lihuo Divine Sword, they can evolve into the 5-element Divine Swords, which are amazingly powerful and terrifying when activated. Thank you, Father. Lu Fan took the 4 swords and refined them with blood dripping, and immediately these 5 great swords entered his body one after another, nourishing his flesh. Faina, you have worked hard, Xuanji said. Over the years, Lu Fan has made great contributions to the fertility of the family. He has married more than 100 concubines and given birth to more than 1,000 children, making great contributions to the reproduction of the family. Outsiders don't know the hard work, but he knows it. The second son worked hard for the prosperity of the family, but the eldest son Lu Zian has been missing for decades. If it weren't for the fact that he was still alive and well, he would have thought he was dead outside. Next, Xuanji began to preach, telling some common sense about foundation building, some secrets of magical powers, understanding of spells, levels of exercises, and things to pay attention to in the foundation building realm, etc., which took more than 3 days. Lu Fan listened carefully and asked again. This son is not only average in qualifications, but also average in comprehension. Many simple questions are also thought about and not understood, and asked one by one. Xuanji was patient at the beginning, but he gradually became impatient at the end. He wanted to scold a few times. You are a blockhead, your head is filled with paste, why are you so stupid? But several times, he still endured it. Forget it, you are my son. No, I will call you dad. I can only tolerate your poor understanding. 3 days later, Xuanji finally walked out of the cave and breathed a sigh of relief. These 5 days were almost torture. Now it is finally over. My son is a real mortal. Without powerful plugins, he has average qualifications, average understanding, and average opportunities. He is a mortal to the extreme. Chapter 321, 4th grade spiritual tree, trading conference. In his spare time, he gave his son some pointers. His son was a little silly, a little dumb, and his qualifications were a little useless, so he had to work hard as a father. He mainly taught his son. As for the more than 1,000 grandchildren, Xuanji only gave some small gifts, said some encouraging words when they met, and instilled a bowl of chicken soup for the soul, but there was nothing else. As the saying goes, things are precious, because they are rare. With only 2 sons, he naturally treated his sons as treasures. As for grandchildren, it seems that there are too many of them, so the feelings are naturally weak. These grandchildren, granddaughters, etc., looked at their grandfather with a look of longing in their eyes. Among the more than 1,000 grandchildren, the oldest is already in his 30s, and the youngest has just started breastfeeding. Some are too young to have their spiritual roots tested, but some children are already old and have their spiritual roots tested one after another. Among the 530 people tested, more than 400 have spiritual roots. Among them, there are 8 people with different spiritual roots, 15 people with 2 spiritual roots, more than 100 people with 3 spiritual roots, more than 200 people with 4 spiritual roots, and more than 100 people with 5 spiritual roots. The probability of spiritual roots being born is somewhat amazing. Unfortunately, among his many children, there is no one with a natural spiritual root. This once again proves that it is difficult for a natural spiritual root to be born. Over the years, the only people with natural spiritual roots he has seen are Yifixu and Lu Zian. The Danliang sect has a history of 10,000 years. In this long history, there are only 20 people with natural spiritual roots, and an average of 1 natural spiritual root cultivator is born every 500 years, but in the records of the Danliang sect, an average of 1 golden elixir cultivator is born every 100 years. It can be seen how low the probability of a natural spiritual root is. After teaching his son and grandchildren, Xuanji is mainly practicing, and he and Xuanji have a double rest in yin and yang, and improve the speed of practice together. Under the double rest, the speed of practice can be doubled, which is a huge temptation for both parties. In this yin and yang double rest, the speed is increasing, but it will take some time to enter the 5th turn. In his spare time, he went to the medicine garden and urged the magic power of creation to ripen the spiritual medicine. The spiritual medicine grows much faster. For many thousand-year-old spiritual medicines, he only needs to ripen them for 20 years. The 2nd grade and 3rd grade spiritual medicines were ripened at the beginning to determine the effect. Later, the focus was on the 4th grade spiritual medicines. According to the cost effectiveness, the medicinal power and price of the 4th grade spiritual medicines were far higher than those of the 3rd grade spiritual medicines. After the spiritual medicines were ripened, they were placed in a jade box for preservation. These 4th grade spiritual medicines can be used to make pills or exchange for some items, which are very beneficial. Later, Xuanji urged the power of creation, and infused most of the power into the creation fruit tree. The creation power has endless vitality and the power of transformation, which can promote the growth and evolution of spiritual trees. The creation fruit tree is slowly transforming. At the moment of the 15th year, the creation fruit tree made a crisp sound, as if it was on the verge of transformation. Along with a clear sound, the tree grew 3 feet taller, and grew 3 branches. The grade was slowly improving, and entered the 4th grade stage. The 4th grade spiritual tree is finally done. Xuanji was happy. Sensing the spirit tree, as the spirit tree advanced, the spirit tree was swaying its branches and leaves, making a rustling sound. It drew the power of the sun, moon, and stars in the sky, absorbed it, and transformed it into rich spiritual energy. The amount of spiritual energy produced by the 4th grade spirit tree every day was enough to supply a giant and cultivator, and there was still a certain surplus. At this time, Xuanji's mind moved and changed the structure of the nearby formation. The spirit veins of Xuanji mountain were changing. It was no longer extracting the spiritual energy from the ground and gathering it together. Instead, it directly condensed the spiritual energy born from the 4th grade spirit tree, precipitated it in the earth, and turned it into a spirit vein. The former, extracting the spiritual energy from the depths of the earth, was rough and overbearing in its means, which would destroy the underground structure and the earth veins, and owed the cause and effect of heaven and earth, but the latter, condensed and gathered the spiritual energy born from the 4th grade spirit tree, and turned it into a spirit vein, which was relatively gentle. As the grade of the spirit tree improves, the grade of the spirit vein also improves. It can be transformed into a 4th grade intermediate spirit vein in 100 years at most. It is not very useful for him, but it is of great use to the Lu family. These are all I can leave for the Lu family. Xuanji sighed slightly. As his cultivation level improves, his retreat time is getting longer and longer. He may be in retreat for decades or even hundreds of years, or he may not return home for decades or hundreds of years. When he goes out, he does not want to find that his family has been destroyed when he returns from a retreat. Or he does not want to find that his family has been reduced to ruins when he returns from a trip. Husband, the Chudu Trade Conference will be held in 3 months. At this time, Xuanji said, let's go now. Okay. The two talked for a while and then got up and left. This time, he went out on a 3rd grade flying boat, which was made of spirit wood. It was luxurious and elegant. It was engraved with ancient formations. It was extremely fast and had a certain degree of defense. When he went out, he embellished the luxury to the extreme. They are 2 great giant and cultivators, and they need to show off their status. It's like a rich man who can directly say how many stocks and industries he has, which ordinary people may not understand. But he can directly show off his luxury cars, villas, cruise ships, airplanes, etc. worth tens of millions, which immediately shows his status and how rich he is. Similarly, in this world, how powerful a giant and cultivator is cannot be proved to the little people at the bottom, so he can only show off his status by riding a luxurious mount or a luxurious flying boat, in order to avoid encountering some ignorant little people on the road and directly crashing into the frame. At that moment, should he kill them directly, or let them go directly? Suppressing directly makes the giant and cultivator appear narrow-minded and lack of tolerance, but if he lets them go directly, it has nothing to do with his face. It's better to show off the flying boat directly, so that people will feel that they are far away. As for pretending to be awesome and slapping their faces, it's not necessary at all. The newly rich or the newly rising little scoundrels need to pretend to be awesome and slap their faces to show off their status. But those big guys standing at the top don't bother to show off and slap people in the face. They are not on the same level. Slapping the face of small people will not produce the slightest pleasure. The flying boat is moving forward, and after a month, it arrived at Chudu. Chudu, the capital of Chu. Chu, as a cultivation empire, has no so-called emperor, dynasty, or royal family. There are only 3 major sects co-governing, and many cultivation families ruling a certain area. On the whole, it is relatively closed, with clear upper and lower classes and serious class solidification. It is almost impossible for the lower class to resist the tyranny of the upper class. Of course, the upper cultivators also disdain to exploit the mortal civilians at the bottom, because the various resources and welfare benefits needed by the cultivators are simply not produced by the mortal civilians. There is no exploitation and being exploited between them, and it is more like 2 completely parallel worlds. The only hope for the lower mortal civilians is to awaken their spiritual roots. Once the spiritual roots are awakened, they will become the best among people. Even if they have 5 spiritual roots, they are above thousands of people. If they become 3 or 2 spiritual roots, their ancestors will be smoking. As the saying goes, everything is inferior, only spiritual roots are high. Chudu, independent of the 3 major sects, has the largest cultivation market in Chu, where various resources are traded in large quantities and on a large scale. Chapter 322, Barter Conference, Goodbye Yilinglang. When the flying boat landed in the imperial capital, the foundation building monks came to greet them and entertained them warmly, providing 5-star service. The whole process of entering the capital of Chu was safe and sound. Under the greeting of the foundation building monks, they entered the Yuban building, where they were greeted by luxurious rooms, exquisite food, and a special foundation building monk as a guide, introducing the local customs, etc., showing the majesty of the Jiandan monks. Xuanji sighed and said, "It's a pity. When we entered the imperial capital, the people who greeted us were polite and courteous, and we felt at home. During this process, no 2nd generation immortals came to show off, and no villains came to slap us in the face. There was no villain to slap him in the face, which made him feel a little disappointed." Yuanai smiled and said, "In this world, the IQs of most cultivators are above average, and they are very smart and wise. As for those cultivators whose IQs are not online and have fallen to the sewer, they do exist, but their number is very small and the probability of encountering them is also very low. We are Jiandan cultivators, standing at the pinnacle of the Chu state's cultivation world. Even if we meet a Yuanian cultivator, we have to call him fellow Taoist. Even the son of Huashan or Yuaniing, when he meets a Jiandan cultivator, he has to call him senior. No one is so blind as to tease us directly." Xuanji nodded and said, "I'm just a little disappointed." Yuanai said, "In novels and stories, there are descriptions of some 2nd generation immortals doing evil everywhere and bullying men and women. In fact, they are just to please the lower class people and are not reliable. It's not that the 2nd generation immortals have good character, but that they are not needed. Those 2nd generation immortals only need to wave their hands, and countless beauties will throw themselves into their arms. There is no need to rob women on the streets." In this way, the 2 of them lived here, waiting for the start of the barter meeting. At the barter meeting, if you can exchange some treasures you need, it would be the best. If not, you can also get to know some Jiandan monks, expand some circles, and expand some connections. In the world of cultivation, although the strong are respected, it is also important to have connections and make good friends so that you can go long term. As for those who are unhappy with someone, they will go forward to fight. See a genius, they will go forward to strangle. See someone has a treasure, they will kill and rob. This is not called the strong are respected, this is called going crazy. The world of cultivation can accommodate bad people and sinners, but it cannot accommodate crazy people. 3 days later, the barter meeting started. The two set off and went to the hall. They sat casually on the chairs and placed the items for trading on the table. 3 perfect grade purple mansion pills, 1 Jinden, and 3 4th grade spiritual herbs. Put the items here and wait quietly. Not long after, Jinden monks arrived one after another, visited the items for trading on the table, and just waited. Soon, more than a dozen Jinden monks arrived one after another. A moment later, 5 more monks wearing black cloaks appeared, covering up their own auras and disguising themselves perfectly, obviously not wanting to let their identities be revealed. These monks wearing black cloaks might be demon cultivators, foreign cultivators, or some wanted criminals, or they simply didn't want to reveal their identities. The Jinden cultivators present only took a quick look and chose to remain silent, not paying too much attention. When the water is too clear, there will be no fish. About 2 hours later, the door was closed. A cultivator at the peak of the golden core stage stepped forward and said, "I'm here to preside over this barter convention. I would like to state some rules here and hope that everyone will abide by them. First, bargaining is allowed at this barter convention, but threats and fighting are prohibited. Second, traders here can be of any identity, and the items traded here may be damaged or fake. We are not responsible after you leave here. I hope that everyone will be more discerning and not trade fakes. Third, we are all golden core cultivators. It is not worth it to kill people for some small things. Isn't it good to live in peace and harmony? After the transaction here is completed, you can take the teleportation array and teleport away randomly. You may be teleported to a place 100,000 miles away, 3,000 miles away, or 10,000 miles away. As for the direction, it is uncertain. When leaving by teleportation array, the direction is uncertain, and even a divine transformation cultivator may not be able to accurately locate it. This can avoid killing people for treasures and increase the safety of the transaction. Fourth, after the transaction here, we promise not to sell out any information about the customer. If anyone sells out, even an ascent soul cultivator will be killed. Of course, I also hope that everyone abides by the rules and does not kill at will. There are many Jinden law enforcers, Yuanying law enforcers, and even Huashan law enforcers who hope you abide by the rules. Of course, as long as you abide by the rules, you will be absolutely safe here. If there are law enforcers who wantonly break the law, they will also be severely punished by the Huashan ancestor. The cultivator spoke in a torrent of words, with threats, warnings, and some promises. These constitute the rules of Chudu and establish a good order. Under such an order, the commercial trade here can develop stably and orderly, and can make a lot of profits. If there is chaos here, killing and robbing treasures everywhere, cheating, or law enforcers bullying people, it will also affect the business. Okay, I won't say anything, the transaction will start now. As he said this, the Jinden cultivator went to the side and closed his eyes to rest. Then the transaction began. There were only more than 30 cultivators participating in this transaction, and the items were limited. One after another, Jinden cultivators came forward and began to ask about the price and the bargaining chips for exchange, arguing like a vegetable market. At the end of the conversation, some cultivators succeeded in the transaction. Some cultivators just broke up. Of course, even if they broke up, they were still friendly. At this time, a Jinden cultivator came forward and began to ask about the price of top grade purple mansion pill. Xuanji spoke, and the two sides began to bargain. At this time, a man in black in the dark watched this scene, but frowned slightly, with a look of surprise on his face. Is it him? Xuanji has entered the golden core stage. His aura is stronger than mine. He is indeed a child of destiny. That is Yuanying. She has also entered the golden core stage. She has such poor aptitude, but she has condensed the golden core. Her spiritual roots are not good. They are water and fire spiritual roots. The attributes are mutually exclusive, but now her spiritual roots have become ice spiritual roots. Not only that, her physique has changed. She has condensed the Deo body. For a mortal cultivator to condense the Deo body, the only way is to take the Deo body pill. Xuanji is willing to give the Deo body pill to someone else. How generous he is. The Deo body pill is a 7th grade pill. At this moment, the cultivator in the dark saw this scene and was slightly surprised. She was Yi Linglang. Chapter 323 Regret. Under the black veil, a woman's body was wrapped, but under the cloak, all the aura and information were blocked. No one knew her identity, origin, or roots. After entering here, Yi Linglang hid her own aura. Lu Xuanji couldn't see her, but she could see Lu Xuanji. When they met again, Lu Xuanji's appearance had not changed much. He still looked 18 years old, wearing a white robe, elegant and calm, giving people a feeling of spring breeze. He seemed to be non-competitive, like a humble gentleman, but a faint feeling of palpitations came. No one would think he was a weak person. The cultivator who could enter the golden core was not the first class in comprehension, aptitude, opportunity, hard work, background, luck, etc. The golden core cultivator, standing above 1 billion human beings, and the top of millions of cultivators, could not be achieved by just saying I will work harder than anyone else, or I have an invincible heart of Taoism. Thinking back to the past, when she faked her death, and left to join the Shenshu Palace, she had no regrets when she left, only a look of shame. But 300 years later, Lu Xuanji had already reached the golden core realm, and his aura was so strong that even she couldn't figure it out. Lu Xuanji's changes only surprised her, but Yi Wanai's changes shocked her. After the shock, she felt a little sour. At the beginning, Yi Wanai only had 2 spiritual roots, water and fire. The conflict between water and fire made her spiritual roots of poor quality. Her parents were born as mortals, and she didn't have a great foundation. The probability of impacting the Purple Palace was only 2 levels, or even lower. Now that they meet again, Yi Wanai has achieved the golden core realm, turned into a nice spiritual root, and condensed a nice soul body. No matter her foundation, she is considered top level, and she even has a certain chance of entering the nascent soul realm. The humble female cultivator of the past now has the potential to turn into a phoenix. Yi Wanai's fate has almost been reversed. On the contrary, most of the cultivators of the same generation in the Yi family have already passed away. Among the female cultivators of the Yi family, Yi Xiaoxiu passed away on the spot when she was at the 3rd level of the Purple Mansion because of being possessed by the devil. Yi Chenai was traveling outside and disappeared, probably died in a certain disaster. As for her, she did enter the golden core, but it was only a middle grade golden core, and she needed to polish the golden core to the upper grade before she had the opportunity to enter the nascent soul. 300 years have passed, and things have changed. Most of the cultivators of the same generation have passed away, and only a few are alive. At this time, seeing the 2 old friends in the past, I couldn't help but sigh. Just 3 spiritual herbs are not enough. We need to add more than 1,000 spiritual stones. Liho Taoist said. Okay. Lu Xuanji nodded, handed over 3 spiritual herbs, and handed over more than 1,000 spiritual stones. Liho Taoist smiled and handed over a storage bag. In the storage bag, there was a stone as tall as a person. The surface was grey, with silver white spots on it, some golden spots, and green stripes and cyan traces imprinted on it. This is a piece of top grade divine material, from which some divine materials can be extracted and used to forge weapons. After Lu Xuanji carefully checked it, he put it into the storage bag. The transaction was completed, and Liho Taoist left. Some more cultivators came forward to trade items. Soon the items were almost traded. At this moment, Lu Xuanji frowned slightly, and felt a gaze on him. He wanted to look up, but he held back. After a while, he looked up casually, and saw a black cloak. Under the black cloak, he couldn't see his face, his background, or his origin. It seemed that he was a demon cultivator, or an overseas cultivator. At the exchange conference, some Jindan cultivators directly revealed their true faces, while some Jindan cultivators concealed their true faces and their details were unknown. Who is he? Lu Xuanji pondered in his heart, stood up, and began to wander in the hall. When he came to a small stall, he asked, "How much is this white dazzling stone? I need a Jindan for my son." Chang Zhenren said, "But this white dazzling stone is not worth a Jindan. I can add 200 spiritual stones. 500 spiritual stones, 250 spiritual stones." 400 spiritual stones. After bargaining, the final price was settled at 300 spiritual stones, and the transaction was completed. Xuanji went to other stalls again, buying some ores, and began to purchase in large quantities, to prepare for the refining of the next weapon. Everything within the caliber is justice, and everything within the range is truth. In the world of cultivating immortals, this is even more true. Force can solve most problems. If not, then continue to increase firepower. Next, he plans to refine a weapon, Xuanji cannon, which is a weapon that focuses on burst and attack. As he walked, he came to the black-clothed man and asked, "Dao, are you from overseas?" "Yes." The black-clothed chimed and said. His voice was a little hoarse, as if he was deliberately hiding something. There are many islands on the East China Sea. It is mainly chaotic, with a lot of killing and fighting. It is not easy for the human race to survive there. Xuanji asked, "How much is this piece of deep sea silver?" "The price is 200 spirit stones." The black-clothed man said. "The spirit stones here are not low grade, but medium grade spirit stones." "Okay." Xuanji nodded. "I need 150 spirit stones, 5 pure yang pills, and 1 nirvana pill." The black-clothed man said. "Okay." Xuanji said, took out 150 spirit stones, and returned 5 pure yang pills, and 1 nirvana pill, and the transaction was completed. After the transaction, Xuan said goodbye and left. The whole process was clean, and there was no twists and turns. It was just a normal transaction. But when he returned to his original position, Xuanji was in a state of ups and downs. The man in black hid well, but he still found out some tricks. The man in black was a woman with water and gold spiritual roots. She had strong blood and ki, strong magic power, and a strong vitality. She seemed to be very young, less than 500 years old. This man in black knew him. "Who is it?" Xuanji was very curious, but he still suppressed his inner desire to explore. About 3 hours later, the transaction was over. Everyone left one after another and went home. After returning to the inn, Xuanji greeted and entered the fire room, urging the formation. Suddenly, a strong ground fire surged out and roasted the Xuanji. After the temperature of the cauldron rose, the ores were thrown into it and began to melt and carry out preliminary smelting. After a month, pieces of bright metal flew out. After a short rest, smelting began again. About half a year later, as the cauldron opened, a mighty cannon appeared, with golden lines on it. The thick muzzle was about 1 meter long and half a meter high, but there was a hint of destruction brewing in it. Xuanji cannon was forged successfully. Chapter 324, Decaying Sky Cannon, Robbery. In the cave, a mighty cannon appeared. When the cannon appeared, it exuded a breath of destruction. In the cannon, a spirituality was born, and the aura was condensing, and it was about to trigger the heavenly tribulation. When the magic weapon reaches the 4th level, it needs to survive the tribulation. After experiencing the baptism of the heaven and earth tribulation, the magic weapon will give birth to spirituality and turn into a spiritual treasure. This is the inevitable change that occurs in the transformation of every magic weapon. Husband, what are the characteristics of this magic weapon? Xuanji asked curiously. This cannon is called the Destroying Heaven Cannon. It abandons defense and endurance, and turns into the ultimate attack power and the ultimate explosive power. When it comes to the power of the explosion, no magic weapon is as powerful as it. Xuanji laughed. This cannon needs to continuously store energy, and will send out terrifying thunder and fire attacks, comparable to the attack of a Yuanying cultivator. Under this attack, there is aiming and locking, and there is no way to avoid it. You can only resist it. If there are no special countermeasures, even a Yuanying cultivator will be seriously injured. As for the disadvantages, after firing a peerless shot, the barrel will be damaged and need to be repaired to a certain extent. It cannot be repaired within at least 10 days. Even if the sword cannon barrel is repaired afterwards, it will take time to store energy. If there are high quality spirit stones, the time may be shortened. Finally, the attack of the nascent soul, that is activated by Destroyed Heaven Cannon, is extremely powerful, but it has the disadvantage of being rigid. If you encounter a few fast cultivators, you may be able to dodge it in time. After all, magic weapons are external objects, not as flexible as your own attacks and sharp speed. Xuanji analyzed the advantages and disadvantages of the destroyed heaven cannon. Many times, magic weapons are used to increase their own attack power. For example, if the original attack power is 10, with a superior magic weapon, the attack power can be increased to 12, 15, or even 20. Similarly, some magic weapons can replace top-level magical powers. For example, if a cultivator's body is fragile, then wearing top-level armor is equivalent to practicing a top-level defensive magical power. This is the advantage of magic weapons. As for the disadvantages, the magic weapon is not flexible enough. If you only pay attention to the magic weapon, and ignore the improvement of your own cultivation, it is putting the cart before the horse. Buzz buzz buzz. The destroyed heaven cannon was trembling, as if it was going to go out, to cross the tribulation and directly turn into a spiritual treasure. Without experiencing the test of the heavenly tribulation, the magic weapon is not perfect and still has shortcomings. Xuanji, however, activated his magic to seal the aura of the decaying heaven cannon, and did not let it go through the tribulation. If this cannon were to go through the tribulation now, it would surely be smashed by the heavenly tribulation. It was necessary to continuously store energy, to allow the cannon to reach its peak power. Only then could it go through the tribulation to ensure success. He activated the power of creation, and infused a little bit of it into the cannon, and stored it in the energy storage stone. After the power was exhausted, he continued to repair the power. After the power was restored, he infused the power of creation into the cannon again. The energy storage time was relatively long. After about 10 days, the energy storage of the decaying heaven cannon ended. With their figures flashing, the two left Chudu and headed for the wild. After walking 100,000 miles, they arrived in a wilderness. Xuanji directly opened the seal of the decaying heaven cannon. As the seal was broken, the aura of the fourth grade spiritual treasure was aroused. The calamity clouds in the sky condensed and turned into thunder and lightning that bombarded down. Thunder clouds rolled, and silver snakes danced. In an instant, it turned into a torrent of destruction. Xuanji and Xuanji left far away to avoid being affected by the heavenly tribulation. When the magic weapon is overcoming the tribulation, the cultivators should not get involved. Boom boom boom. The heavenly tribulation is continuing. The decaying heaven cannon continued to bombard, breaking the tribulation. When the last ray of light dissipated, all the tribulations were overcome. A colorful light fell, and the aura of the decaying heaven cannon changed, and its spirituality increased, officially becoming a fourth grade spiritual treasure. Moreover, with the increase of the spirituality of the magic weapon, it will gradually breed a weapon spirit. But the huge bronze cannon kept shrinking, turning into a mini shape, and fell on the palm of his hand. "I'll give this to you," Xuanji said, waving his hand to hand over the destroying heaven cannon. "This is too precious," Xuanji said. "Your things are my things," Xuanji said, "but don't use such weapons lightly. Cultivation is the key, and as for the magic weapon, it is just a left-handed technique." Xuanji nodded and dripped blood to refine the magic weapon. "Hey, interesting." Suddenly, Xuanji's mind sensed something and smiled slightly. "Let's go. We may encounter some interesting games." In the wilderness, a war broke out. The auras of the golden elixir collided, and waves of destruction came one after another. On the battlefield, two golden elixir cultivators clashed with each other, fighting each other bloodily. Waves of destruction came one after another, like nuclear bombs colliding. If such a collision happened in a densely populated city, it would only take a moment to destroy the city and turn it into a ruin. Boom boom boom. The battle continued. After 100 moves, suddenly a man in black trembled slightly, and his magic power receded like a tide. He was about to fall to the ground. The man in black stepped forward, stretched out his hand to grab her, and said, "Beauty, you are in my hands after all. My master is the true Lord Donghae of the Shenshu Palace. If you touch me, you will definitely anger my master," the woman in black threatened. "Haha, my master is the Six Desires Demon Lord of the Hehuan sect. I raped you, so what? If the true Lord of the East Sea has the ability, he can attack the Hehuan sect. The master doesn't mind taking a nascent soul furnace tripod." The man in black sneered, not taking the so-called threat seriously. Besides, as long as I do things cleanly and erase all traces, who can find out that it was me who did it? The man in black sneered, holding the woman and walking away. The woman in black struggled and wanted to self-destruct her golden elixir, but her body was imprisoned, and she had no power to resist. Thinking of being humiliated by this demon cultivator next, not only losing her innocence, but also her life, she couldn't help but shed tears. Swish. At this moment, a golden light flashed, and a figure appeared, covered with grey mist, unable to see his true face, and fell into a blur. At a very fast speed, he slapped his head. The black-clothed figure flashed and dodged quickly, but the grey-clothed man followed him like a shadow, slashing down, his palm like a knife. He waved his hand to throw the woman aside, took out a large banner and suppressed her. The banner shook, turning into sword energy that slashed down. Bang! The grey figure shot out grey magic power, which hit the sword energy, and the sword energy melted away. A destructive palm print came down, ripping everything apart. Chapter 325 6 Desires Dispersed. Atonement. Boom boom boom. The two sides clashed with each other, their magic powers were constantly colliding, and the waves of destruction were sweeping, one wave crashing into another. Zhengjin Divine Thunder. Kill. The man in black was a little impatient, and a trace of killing intent flashed in his eyes. The next moment, a thunder symbol appeared on his palm. As he activated the thunder symbol, the golden lightning suddenly gathered together and turned into the supreme killing force, killing and tearing everything apart, destroying all laws. This attack was comparable to the attack of a Yuan cultivator. Boom boom boom. Under the bombardment of the thunderball, the grey figure suddenly exploded on the spot and turned into mist and dissipated. Not good. The man in black said uneasily. At this moment, he felt a sharp pain in his lower abdomen, and his body seemed to be torn apart by thunder. He saw a palm reaching out to the dancing position and grabbing a pink golden elixir from it. Wiping off the trace of divine thoughts on the golden elixir became an ownerless object. Is this the golden elixir? Or the golden elixir of the Hehuan demon vein? The grey-clothed man appeared again, tasting the golden elixir. Give me back my golden elixir. The black-clothed man said angrily, waving his hand to attack, but he lost his golden elixir, and his cultivation level immediately dropped, less than the third level of combat power at his peak. The grey-clothed man urged the white flames to sweep over and drown everything. This is the pure yang heavenly fire. You are the pure yang true person. The black-clothed man exclaimed. His body was burned by the pure yang true fire, turned into ashes, and dissipated in the world. At this moment, the grey mist dissipated, revealing his true face. It was Xuanji. From the start of the battle to the end of the battle, it was only less than 10 breaths. Golden elixir cultivators are divided into different levels, with different strengths. But even the weakest golden elixir cultivator, if forced to self-destruct his golden elixir, can kill the strongest golden elixir. At the beginning of the game, with the help of 9 transformations of fish and dragon, he evolved an avatar, fighting and entangled with the enemy, while the original body hid in the dark, suddenly attacked, and seized his golden elixir. After the enemy lost his golden elixir, Xuanji killed him with just one move. Xuanji stepped forward and began to check the enemy's storage bag. There were colorful things in it, all women's clothes, some jade slips, some pink elixirs, and more than 3,000 medium-grade spirit stones. On the jade slip, there were some double resting techniques of the Hehuan sect, techniques for collecting and replenishing, methods for identifying women's famous instruments, techniques for identifying women's physiques, etc. Ahem. Xuanji opened the jade slip and was about to take a closer look. Husband, come and take a look quickly. There is something wrong with this sister. Yuanai's voice came. Xuanji immediately closed the jade slip and put the jade slip, elixir, spirit stone, magic weapon, etc. into the storage bag. As for the storage bag and worthless things, they were all burned to ashes and disappeared. Xuanji disappeared, and after a few flashes, he was 100 miles away. Entering a cave, I saw Yuanai's face was slightly impatient. On the bed, there was a woman lying, wearing a blue dress, with a plum blossom between her eyebrows, full and round chest, slender body, exuding elegance and calmness, but at this moment her face was flushed, as if she had lost her mind, and fell into endless desire. Husband, come and help this sister. She has been poisoned by the secret medicine of the Hehuan demon vein, and has fallen into mental confusion, and lost in desire. Xuanji stepped forward and said, okay. Xuanji nodded and stepped forward to check, but looking at the woman's appearance, he frowned slightly, feeling a little familiar, as if he had seen her there. This woman looks familiar. She looks similar to Yilinglong, but she is more mature, charming, and has a more attractive aura than Yilinglong. Could she be Yilinglong's sister or mother? Xuanji asked. Xuanji had a slight headache, and didn't know how to answer. This husband is very smart. If his IQ is not good, he can't become a golden elixir. But in some things, he is really not smart at all. Xuanji spoke, and decided to tell the truth. Husband, she is Yilinglong. Impossible. Didn't Yilinglong die at the beginning? Xuanji said. My husband, there are some things I didn't intend to say, but now, I have to say it. Xuanji said, I have been in the Yi family for a long time. I'm a close friend of Yilinglong, but we are quite familiar with each other. Yilinglong's mother died a long time ago, and she has no sister. I remember that when Sister Yilinglong was in seclusion, to attack the Purple Palace, her aura had a great impact. I sensed the change in that aura, and confirmed that Sister Linglong had already achieved the Purple Palace. But not long after, news came that Sister Yilinglong had fallen. But just now, I looked at her identity token, and confirmed that she was an elder of the Shenshu Palace. If you think about these things together, my husband should understand. Xuanji was silent. He just fell into a misconception, and couldn't see clearly. But after these reminders, he quickly understood what was going on. Yilinglong faked her death, and left to join the Shenshu Palace. When she returned again, she was already a golden elixir. It was just bad luck. She almost fell when she met a cultivator of the Hehuan demon vein. At this moment, Yilinglong's painful voice came from the bed, and Xuanji said, husband, is there an antidote? Go and see. Xuanji threw the storage bag directly, and stood aside angrily. He has never been generous, but rather petty. Thinking of being fooled by some people 300 years ago, teased like a monkey, he was extremely angry. But after being angry, he was slightly helpless inside. After a while, Xuanji said, husband, there is no antidote here? That's right. How can the secret medicine made by the Hehuan demon vein have an antidote? Husband, now it seems that you can only do it yourself, and be the antidote yourself. No. Xuanji said angrily. Xuanji had no choice but to go forward and say nice things and persuade him. Husband seems to be more than 500 years old, the age of an ancestor, but he is still a child in character, and likes to sulk. But husband's heart is the softest. As long as he persuades a few more times, he will change his mind. Yilinglong was poisoned by the 6 desires powder of the Hehuan demon vein. It's not easy to deal with, but there are solutions. Xuanji pondered. The 6 desires powder only magnifies people's desires. Originally, the desire in the heart was only one, which could be easily restrained, but at this moment, the desire has been magnified to 100, which is almost impossible to suppress. However, I still have a way. Xuanji said, my husband, if you go up now, it's not taking advantage of someone's misfortune, but saving a life. Now, she has lost her innocence, which can be regarded as atonement for what happened back then. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.